Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. And held me tight. Her soft body pressed against me gently. It was so warm, and I could smell just the slightest hint of sweat. Her long, flowing hair tickled my nose. Calm down. It was the last thing I expected her to say. I could feel the strength leave my body. It's dangerous to stay here. Her voice sounded a little sad. I couldn't tell if she was crying. Look, the crosswalk signal is red. I wasn't sure what to think. Wasn't she here to kill me? Why was she saving me? Wasn't that hallucination of people disappearing for Shibuya something she'd forced me to see? Once I'd felt this gentle warmth from her, once she held me in her innocent arms, how could I still be sure? How could I stop myself from thinking that maybe Rimi Sakihara wasn't a demon at all? Was I just a fool? Was I falling for her tricks? The one thing I could be sure of was that I felt so safe and peaceful in her arms. What was this strange feeling? Rimi let go, and then put her hands up to my cheeks and looked me in the face. Her eyes were a little red. Please. Just for now. Follow me. Okay? I nodded. We were standing in the middle of the now empty crosswalk. People on both sides of the road were staring at us. They waited for the light to change. I could hear laughter starting to bubble up from the crowd. The cars all had their headlights pointing at me and were starting to honk their horns. Rimi held my hand tightly and started to run toward the sidewalk. I followed along, letting her pull me forward. We managed to make it, through the noise of the horns, to the sidewalk. Rimi let out a sigh of relief and stopped. She was still holding my hand. Just touching her made me feel calmer. It made me want to give in to the feeling, and stay like this forever. Rimi turned toward me. I'm glad you're safe. She looked so happy. I couldn't believe that the look on her face might be a lie or an act. But let me go. I'd thought of her as an enemy for so long. I'd thought of her as a demon. If I gave in, I'd cease to be me. That's how it felt, at least. Oh, sorry. Shahaha. She let go.
それにしてもびっくりした。タクが道の真ん中でうずくまってるんだもん。
You surprised me, though. Just lying out there in the middle of the road like that.
信号が赤になった時はどうなることかと。
I was so worried when the light turned red. But why were you there at that time, though? Did you just see me like running around crazily and follow me? I'm confused. She sounded happy. I turned away. I started to push through the crowds and walk forward. I'm going home. I mean, this was our fault for leaving the house. We should have just stayed. Like, oh, we need instant noodles. Nope. That's why you don't go outside.
じゃあ送るよ。具合悪いんでしょ?
Then I'll walk you home. You're not feeling well, right? I could hear her chasing after me, but I shook my head no. I mean, she already knows where we live. Taku. The cheerful in her voice had vanished. I felt really bad since she had just saved me, so...
Arigato.
Thank you. I just barely managed to squeak out the words. I certainly didn't think they'd end up merging all three of the task force into one. Bon slightly sighed bitterly to himself as he looked at the rows of detectives assembled in Shibuya Police Station large conference room. The Inogashira Line Shibuya Station bathroom murder, what the media had taken to calling the Vampirer, had pushed the Shibuya police available manpower to its absolute limit. And with three bizarre murders in the same district, it was looking more and more likely that a single culprit was responsible for all of them. Some officers had suggested leaving the Cornelius Tower suicides to the Youth Crimes Division. But the media was treating them as part of New Gen. And they'd take a lot of flack if it seemed like they were leaving it out. It was only natural that HQ would decide to bring the task forces together into one big team. Right now, the new, bigger group was going back over each of the cases individually. There was a big screen at the front of the room, showing slides of the crime scenes. Sua had been assigned to give the briefing on them. He and Ban had been up all night frantically going through the case files for all 4 cases. Good luck, kid, Ben said to himself, resting his head in his palm. Cornelius Tower group suicide took place on September 7th. This was the first of 4 cases that the media referred to as the New Gen murders. At around 11:30, a group of 5 boys and girls fell from the Cornelius Tower heliport. They all died on impact. They were all minors, high school kids, 3 boys, 2 girls. 2 of them, a boy and a girl, went to the same school. The rest attended different schools. Autopsies showed that they all had small fragments of flesh under their nail and scratch marks on their palms. We can conclude from this that they were likely held hands as they fell. There were no sign of any suicide left behind them. The 5 of them seemed to have met after school and headed to Cornelius Tower. As for the question of whether this was a homicide, it's worth noting that the Cornelius Tower roof is off limits to visitors. At the time of the incident, the door of the roof was locked. No fingerprints of the victims were found on the doorknob. None of the deceased had a key on the body when they'd been found either. This implies that a third party besides the victims was present at the scene. Our current assumption is that this third party had the key to the door and locked the door and left either before or after they jumped. We questioned every employee at the Cornelius Tower Hotel. Almost all of them had an alibi. We're now talking to the employees of the companies that are located in the tower. None of the 5 victims have any motive for suicide that we've been able to find. We have testimony from family, friends, and teachers for 4 of the 5 that they would absolutely for no reason kill themselves. The slide changed, moving to the second case, the murder of the college kid, an unborn baby, under the Shibuya station tracks. As for this case, which they are calling the pregnant man, it took place on September 19th, 12 days after what's been termed the group dive. It was a worker of a local karaoke place who discovered the body. They found it at approximately 5 a.m. The victim was one Shizuo Konoe, a third-year college student in Shibuya. He was 21 years old. The victim was deceased at the time he was found. Estimated time of death is around 1 a.m. on the 19th, 4 hours before the body was discovered. The victim's stomach was abnormally bloated. An unborn baby was found within it. An autopsy revealed that someone had opened the victim's chest while he was still alive and put the baby inside his stomach. The infant was likely deceased at the time. The victim would have died after his belly was sewn back together. We found indications that he had ripped at the stitches and torn some of the thread. The baby would have been in its 8th month of development, and we believe it was removed from the mother's body via C-section. For now, we know nothing about the mother, not even whether she's dead or alive. DNA analysis revealed that the baby and the victim had no genetic relationship. For what it's worth, the baby had blood type B. The victim had blood type A. Sua paused to take a breath. Talking so much it tired him out. It looked like giving a presentation in front of his older detectives was probably nerve-wracking too. Now, on to the third incident, the crucifixion murder at Maru Yamacho. There was a slight pause before the crucified's slide came up. That is not what I fucking remember. Bullshit! This is a shot of the scene. Granted, yes, that is sufficient to hold a human body in place. And yes, if they're sharp stakes and you got like a sledgehammer or something, you could potentially put that many into a concrete wall, but still, you'd have to be like really, really strong to do that. Like, I don't think I would be capable of actually, whether we're talking Nishijo or the IRL player playing the game, I don't think either of us would have the physical strength needed to, drive those into concrete, even if I had a sledgehammer. And even then, it has to go through a person. I assume we're hitting bone. And even then, how are we holding the person in place while we're doing this? I would need like a group of people to help me. Also, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So there's 10. So I see 10 stakes there. So I took one with me. But still, that's 11. I saw like 500. That dude was a fucking porcupine. All I saw was blood and like Sonic the Hedgehog being sad. By the way, hear me out. How about instead of a presidential debate, we just have like Donald Trump and Joe Biden do a live playthrough of every Sonic the Hedgehog game ever made? Though I imagine Sonic would be like crying and upset and Tails would be hugging him like, "It's okay, Sonic!" But he's like, no, keep those two away from me. And everyone's like, why would you want to put Sonic the Hedgehog through such a horrible thing? But again, I call bullshit on this. Why are there only 10 stakes in there? Granted, carrying the one that I carried from the murder scene, that's 11. I saw like 500. There need to be like 50 times as many of those. I mean, granted, that is sufficient to hold a person in place, but that is not what I fucking saw. This one took place on September 29th. The victim was one Hisashi Ota, age 56, professor. At the very least, even if somehow Nishijo perceived the incident incorrectly, one, there's no way Nishijo would be able to lift that dude up like that. Hell, if IRL Lunar was there, there's no way I'd be... What would I be doing? Having a fucking step ladder and a bunch of pulleys and shit. Like, I wouldn't even be able to lift the person on the damn wall like that, let alone, how would they stay in place? And even then, it would probably take me like 12 hours just to put one fucking stake through a damn concrete wall. But at least this makes sense on the other idea. Because originally I was like, oh man, the fans, wait, I need to turn the fan off. That feels better. That could be middle winter. I'm still going to want a fucking fan on. Too warm. But at least this makes sense. The other point I was bringing up. Because initially with like the 500 stakes that were in the damn wall, you know, there's no way that would work. Because even not only would that be absolutely excessive, and I don't know how anybody would do that. But here's the thing. The concrete wall's structural integrity would be compromised. The wall itself would have collapsed if you drove that many stakes. But yeah, this is not how I remember this. There were like 500 fucking stakes there. A man who lived in a nearby apartment was the one to find the body. Cause of death was strangulation. Okay. After death, he was nailed to the wall with 10 or so stakes. I was assuming he was alive when he got put on there, but okay, so he was strangled first. As you can see, there are a few wounds on the body itself. Okay. Wow, my ear is itchy. While some of the stakes did go through the flesh, they were primarily nailed through his clothes. Okay, I understand the dude's not fat, but his clothes should not be strong enough to support him, even if a few of the stakes are going through flesh. Like, that should not be enough to hold him in place. His body weight should be, granted, it's not going to tear the stakes out of the wall at that point. But it is going to tear the clothing. Maybe I just wear really cheap clothing. I don't know. But I mean, imagine if this guy's rich, he wouldn't have been in this area, right? He was like a professor or something, right? I mean, it's not like they're buying like Kevlar bulletproof vests. Media's calling it the bloody crucifixion, but there was no blood lost whatsoever in the Okay, again, bullshit! That is not how I remember this. There were 500 fucking stakes all through it, and there was blood everywhere. I saw more blood than I saw a person. Okay? So I don't know why the police are fucking doctoring and changing, like, the way the fucking picture is. I'm just saying, I was there. I fucking saw it. So something's wrong with their cameras. Nails used for cross-shaped stakes, sold by a German company named Kreuznagel. I think. Kreuznagel? Yummy pretzel place. Everyone's like, stop being fat. Choice of cross-shaped nail is distinctive one, and we're currently looking into religious connections. The incident occurred between 9 a.m. and 9:30 p.m. Well, 9 a.m. That's also p.m. And we have reports from residents of they heard a sound of nails being pounded in the wall at least 10 to 20 minutes. Okay, for at least that number, 10 to 20 minutes is doable, but again, would those nails even pierce concrete? And even then, even if they could, it has to be like some like really giant person with like a bunch of muscles that's like 6.5 feet tall and fucking jacked like a bodybuilder. How is someone like of my build or Nisha Joe's build going to do that? We're not even going to lift the damn person up to the wall, let alone hold them in place. How am I even holding the person? Like, if I'm holding the person with even one hand, okay, then I'm hitting the nail with okay, how am I holding the nail? Because you guys ever tried to put a nail in like a piece of wood or something like that? You have to like hold one thing with the nail and one the hammer. Even then, a lot of times you don't want to accidentally hit your hand. Like, how are we holding all this? I don't have 20 arms. I may be trying to learn how to juggle while listening to Godsmack and Korn, but that's not how that works. Since the matches, the estimated time death, we can only assume the victim was killed at the spot, or failing that somewhere nearby. Yeah, I mean, I understand you can get time of death, but I don't think you can narrow it down to like minutes. Like, you at least know, okay, he died that day. But I don't think it's like works the way that you see in like NCIS. We also have unreliable report of a sighting of a female Sume Academy student in the area. Lastly, the Inokashira Line Shibuya Station bathroom murder, aka Vamp. They were like, well, you said male student. I'm like, yeah, but we talked to him. We're keeping tabs on him. He appears to just run around and play video games. Again, what would cause a person to turn green? Also, that's a lot of blood. I have no idea. Okay. This one happened October 10th. It was found at approximately 5:30 a.m. Station employee was the first to find it. We know nothing about the victim for the moment. They didn't have any kind of identification with them. Time of death could be anywhere from 10 to 6 p.m. of the day. Prior, the body was drained of blood and looked something like a mummy. I mean, one, wouldn't it take time for some sort of mummification process to occur? Two, if someone's going to drain someone of blood, you have to be like a mortuary assistant or something like that, right? You have to actually know what you're doing and have like specialized equipment. I'm just saying you have to have some sort of skill at doing this sort of thing. And there's like limited jobs where somebody would, learn such things. As you're aware, this photo was taken by an unknown party and uploaded to the internet auction site. Yeah, I forgot about that. 15 minutes before the body was found. Ban grimaced a little as he listened to the explanation. Was this the killer's way of saying that death had become fashion or something? Okay, that's chapter 3. D-Sword. Okay, I assume her sister's going to activate the bangle, and I don't know what's going to happen. Sign City was a pair of buildings located just south of Shibuya Scramble Crossing. The east building was located next to Shibuya Station. There was a small plaza just inside the entrance, which was often being used as a meeting spot, even if it wasn't as famous as the Hachiko or Mayu statues. A dozen or so people were there now, waiting and playing with their phones. Sena. One of them was standing alone with a curiously stern expression on her face. She was a teenage girl named Sina Ayu. If you went down the escalator on the second floor of the Sign City, the one that led away from Ino Kashira Line Station, you would see her there, leaning against a white pillar, watching her surroundings carefully. Despite her stern expression in the season, she was nibbling on a popsicle. I like ice cream. It was kind of cute in a way. Of course, she wasn't waiting for anyone. She was quietly observing the people coming and going around her. From where she was standing, you could see all the way to the big TVs at Scramble Crossing. They were showing a promo for some famous singer. At the bottom of the screen was scrolling a line of text talking about the New Gen murders. Not a day went by that she didn't see something about New Gen. The TV, the papers, the net, the magazine, even the big TVs in the city. Sana wasn't interested in them at all. But walking through Shibuya, she would often hear people talking about the murders. Whose eyes are those? Lately, she had been seeing people wearing t-shirts with that question printed across their fronts. It had gotten its start as an underground meme in Shibuya, and now it was getting out of control. Somebody at Harajuku gift shop had started selling t-shirts, and then they'd sold pretty well. At least that's what she'd heard a smiling man say as he passed her by on the street. It was a good sign of how little people cared about anything but themselves. Sana gave a little snort of contempt before she ate the last bite of her popsicle. She closed her eyes, a stern expression still on her face. She listened to the noise of the city. On Sundays, the area around the station was filled with many different sounds. Trains rattling into the station, taxi horns, people talking as they walked. Music from the big TVs and inside shops at Sign City, announcements endlessly telling you how to safely ride an escalator. The sounds never stopped. As soon as one ended, another took its place. All the different sounds layered together into a dissonant rumble of jumble of static. Sana focused on the noise, directing her attention to the people's voices. Her brain shut out any other sound so she could hear the words clearly. So do you think they're all the same guy? Yes, I'm turning my head to read this. Okay, I can't. This is... Check this out. What the hell? That's hilarious. My face will be in Japan, then I'll be famous. I don't think you want that kind of thing, man. It sure is. I don't feel safe walking at night. If you catch the guy, let's go out your course out. If she would have killed me, well, totally cheer off. Man. That's kind of hateful, okay. Everyone really is just kind of enjoying it like it's entertainment. Send let out a little grunt. She stopped listening almost. It's like they're listening to actual real life stuff like it's TV. Like they're talking about a sitcom or Dragon Ball Z. Noise offered nothing useful. In the end, the noise was just noise. The sensation of being watched. Am I imagining it? Sana looked around one more time. For a while, she'd had this awful feeling, a cold finger running down her spine. Someone's gaze was upon her, but she couldn't find out who it was. Sana stepped away from the pillar she had been leaning against. And then, as if she had just remembered she was holding it, she stared down at the popsicle in her hand. Not a winner, huh? Oh, it's like the Willy Wonka thing? It's like, oh, some popsicles have some sort of prize? She looked even more upset as she walked quickly toward the station. Why is that sky so blue? Like it makes you want to cry. Because that's what I wished for. I didn't wish for it. I did. This is your mental world. But it's mine too. Hey. I'm not sure what's happening. Where can I find that sky? Anywhere, if you wish for it. Is it okay for me to wish? Okay. Saratan was calling. That's the message I have set to my voice, my computer, right? Email. That's a message I have on my computer that tells me I have an email, right? Yesterday's Blood Tune was such a great episode. Saratan had a lot of cool scenes, and there was also a sexy kiss. The animation quality was top-notch, too. Well, it is good when people can really be good at drawing. Saratan was calling. Yeah, we got an email. And being super melee about it, too. I had no choice but to get up. I ripped off the covers and got off the sofa with a moan. Sensuit fresh Das mir ein Insekt. When I hit the switch on the alarm, Saratan's voice abruptly... Oh, we have set to an alarm clock. Abruptly stopped. Good morning, Sarah. My Sarah voice alarm was a treasure of mine. If you didn't flip the switch, the volume would get gradually louder and louder before switching to an intense buzzer sound. I wanted to start my morning waking up with Saratan, which meant I always tried to flip the switch before the buzzer sounded. I'd only ever failed twice. Waking up with Saratan always puts me in a great mood. Well, no, actually playing games all night and sleeping on a hard sofa made me feel like crap. But having Saratan wake me up did make a little bit of the pain go away. Today was a school day. I'd missed a full day last week, and it was starting to throw off my schedule. It was supposed to only go twice this week, but thanks to that I'd have to go 3 times. I didn't want to go, but I had to. Any more skipping and I couldn't graduate. To be honest, even if I couldn't graduate, it wouldn't make that big of a difference for me. I just have a dream about Remy. It was a strange dream. Somehow nostalgic, somehow lonely, somehow sad, and somehow incredibly distant. I wondered if she was coming to school today. I'd spent a lot of time thinking about what happened 2 days ago. I'd spent so much time thinking about it that it cut into my ESO time. I didn't think much about Shogun, or the delusion of the empty Shibuya. They didn't seem all that important to me. All of it was Most likely just a delusion of mine. It was hard to believe that Shogun could be an old man like that, and thinking back, the idea of every single person disappearing from Shibuya just seemed silly. It was a very realistic delusion, but I found myself embarrassed by how easily I'd believed something so impossible could happen. What was more important was Remy, the girl I'd called the demon girl until just a little bit ago. In that place, where it felt like a strange floating dream, she held me tight, and I could still remember the feeling of her body. If she hadn't done that, I might have gone crazy. Why had Remy saved me? Was it because we were friends? I didn't have any memories at all of us being classmates since our first year, or of us going to see a movie with her and Misumi. But the way she treated me was the way you treat a good friend. When she held me tight, she looked a little like she was about to cry. That, at least, didn't seem like an act she was putting on. I'd never met a girl who'd cry over a creepy otaku like me. After seeing it, the fear and suspicion I'd felt had just blown away. In fact, I almost felt like I could fall in love with her, though I stopped myself from going that far. What I felt most was uncertainty. How should I face Remy from here on out? Was she my friend or my enemy? Was she responsible for the New Gen murders? It was an undeniable fact that she'd saved me. But it was also true that I'd seen her covered in blood at the site of the crucified murder. I stopped at Shoto Park on my way to school. Ever since the incident with Yua, I quit my habit of eating breakfast here. The idea that Yua could be out there somewhere watching me made it impossible to enjoy my meal. And even worse, if she came to talk to me, I'd have to listen to a bunch more of her delusional nonsense. I didn't have time to deal with her. Yua works for Remy. That was my original idea, but it may have been wrong. That didn't mean that Yua wasn't an enemy, though. Maybe Shogun was the big boss, and Yua was working for him. Whatever the case, it'd be best if I stayed away from her. But today, I'd come here for some reason anyway. I looked around carefully to make sure Yua was nowhere to be seen. She's standing on the roof. Then I slowly sat down on the bench. I took a bite of my chocolate pastry I'd bought at the convenience store and looked out at the lake. There was barely any wind. The water's surface was still and calm. Once in a while I could see what might be a carp moving through the cloudy water. There was nobody in the park today, which was rare. It was a very quiet space. As I looked around the park, I found myself thinking about Remy again. To be honest, I'd almost decided not to go to school today, just to avoid facing her again. That's why I'd come here to the park to buy some time. It felt like I'd said all kinds of awful things to her, but she'd always smiled and been kind to me. And I was sure if I went to school again, she'd come up to talk to me, like she always had. She'd pretend that what we'd experienced in front of the 107 had never happened. She'd smile and treat me like a friend. Part of her constantly cheerful nature did seem a little obnoxious, but it was also felt like if I stayed with her, I might start to feel cheerful too. What should I say when I meet her? I didn't think of her as a demon anymore, but it was also true that I didn't think of her as a friend. Misumi had said that she and I had been friends and classmates for over a year and a half, but I had no memories of that at all. Maybe something had broken within me after all. But could my memories of Remy disappear if everything else remained intact? Was that possible? I went into the school building, head pointed toward the ground as always. I did my usual thing of walking slowly on the side of the hallway while I headed for the stairs. My class was on the 3rd floor. It was kind of a pain to get there. I wished there was an escalator, actually. You're that new person, right? Hi, how you enjoying it? I gotta go to class. As I got up to the stairs, I saw a girl slowly staggering up them. Are you okay? Are you hurt? She was dragging her right leg. Did she sprain it or something? Her tiny body was kind of wobbling as she walked. She looked like she might fall over at any minute. I wish you the best. I hope you're better. If I'm allowed to take this many days off, they should have let you take a week off to recover. Obviously in an American school, this sort of shit wouldn't fly. You basically have to go to school every single day, unless you have like a really bad fever or are seriously injured. I remember at one point I kind of broke my foot, and I had to wear a boot cast, and I still had to go up downstairs. I still had to go places and do things. I still had to go to work. I was still working a full-time job. I was in high school and did Boy Scouts and had a broken foot. And it was winter, so I had to wrap a trash bag around my foot so it wouldn't get drenched from me having to walk through snow to carry trash bags. Because I had to change trash, I had to cook, I had to clean, I had to... so I had to do all this stuff, and I had to go take out big-ass trash bags in the winter and use dollies to move things, even though I had a broken foot. At the end of the day is this. Having a fucking broken foot is not an excuse not to go to work, not to go to school. You have to go to school every day. You have to still work. You have to still do these other tasks. Having a broken bone is not an excuse for not working. Or at least that's how it is here. I don't know. Maybe other countries are a little bit more understanding on such things. It's just sort of like, and even then, if you have a flu or something, fine. You can miss a couple days. But then, if you're having flu regularly, you need to just go to school. If you get other people sick, so be it. That is your responsibility to be there, even if you're sick, even if it makes other people sick. It is a sin for you not to go to school in that situation, even if you're throwing up. It is a sin for you not to go to work. Or at least that's just the way what's normal in society. Hell, we had that, Ben Shapiro guy saying that no one's supposed to ever fucking retire. What, am I supposed to work until I fucking die? Says the man who recently quit his job. Because the job was fucking bullshit and it was killing me. Then again, if I'm so weak that a job's hurting me, then do I really deserve to live? I mean, if I'm not good enough to be better than everyone else, then obviously I don't have any value as a human being, right? And then it's that same society that's constantly saying, oh, money's the root of all evil. But then I'm constantly judged as being less of a person because I'm not rich, or powerful, or athletic, or attractive, or violent. That's another weird thing, getting criticized for not being violent. That I'm a bad person because I'm not violent. But hey, I don't know. That's just the way society is. That's just the way everyone else thinks about things. I'm the weird one for thinking things like violence are bad. I enjoy violent video games. I just don't think there's any reason to hurt people in real life unless you're protecting someone. But, well, remember, I'm the weird one who thinks things like violence and war are bad. So again, also we're in Japan. I don't know how other countries would be. Let me know how you guys would be, but I'm just going logically, at least from my experience of how the world works, is this. If you go to school, it doesn't matter, oh, you broke your foot or something, she could actually have a fucking cast on her leg. You need to get up those fucking stairs. That is your responsibility. Then, if you don't go up the stairs with your broken leg, you're a bad person now. But again, I don't actually feel that way. That's more so just me repeating bullshit that people have said to me. So I might be holding a slight grudge on that. Then again, it's not like I really would have expected to stay home all the time. I'm just saying. I don't know, could people fucking chill out a little bit? Just not be dicks. Never done anything to hurt anyone. Except for strictly self-defense things. And again, those are situations where I had no choice. Most of those situations, had I done nothing, I would be dead. But still, my own emotional tirade aside, do you want help? Obviously, it sucks that you're going up a fucking staircase and you're hurt. I don't want you to fall down because it's easy enough to lose your fucking balance land. Yes, I know, I kind of trip over everything. I have poor... Honestly, I might get her hurt trying to help her up the stairs. I might... I'm clumsy. I have a poor sense of balance. Maybe if I try to help her, it'll hurt her, which means at that situation, it is morally wrong for me to help her. Because if I help her, she might get hurt because I'm clumsy. I don't know. At the end of the day, we should still take the risk and just be extremely careful. Because I would rather try to help her, even with that risk that, I might fuck up and like trip or something. So yeah, do you want help? I mean, you're wobbling a lot, and there's a lot of stairs. I mean, granted, we're not in a skyscraper, but still, that's a lot of stairs. I mean, I see a staircase there, I see a staircase here, a staircase there. That's at least 3 floors. We're at least like a 4-floor building, unless it's like a half staircase. Okay, so at the very least, it's still 2 really tall floors, because sometimes buildings and schools have really high ceilings. I mean, heck, look at that veranda up there. That's got to be a high skylight. Okay, so even then, if it's a 2-story floor, that's like a 4-story for a regular building. And again, some of the schools in Japan tend to be even taller. So we could be dealing with, what, 6, 8 floors? Any more would be a skyscraper, so we can't do that. The other students were quickly passing by her. Did I read the other thing? She looked like she might fall over at any minute. The other students quickly passed her as she went slowly up each step. From below, I could almost see her panties. That's not what we should be focusing on. She's going to fall over. Crap, if I didn't do something, I'd look like a pervert. I didn't want anybody calling me a creep. I tried to quickly walk past her when... Why? Are you falling? The girl tripped on the stairs and staggered forward. Oh, fuck. But if you fell forward, how are you there? Were you walking down the stairs? I thought you were walking up the stairs. You scraped your knee. Fuck. That was a hard hit. I mean, at least as a teenager, it's just a scrape. Most adults, if an adult falls off downstairs, it's like death penalty, pretty much. It's like, you fall down, you're going to hit really hard. And you're like, why? Because adults weigh more. And everyone's like, that's just because you're fat. I'm like, fucking assholes. Main point is this. As you're older, your body has less give that. Somebody in like their 40s or 50s, they fall down a few stairs. They're likely like shatter a leg, break something wrong way, cripple themselves, break their head open. At least as a teenager, you're less likely to receive a serious injury. Everyone's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I've fallen downstairs as a teenager. I didn't die. That being said, I still feel really bad for her. She's bleeding. Do we have a nurse's office? Fortunately, she was standing on the landing when she... Okay, that's good. So she didn't die. So she didn't rolling down the stairs. But she was just lying there on her knees. I mean, that's understandable. There's lots of times I've fallen like that. And I'm like, I'm just going to sit here for a bit because, it fucking hurts. That being said, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this situation. I'm like, what? I'm going to offer you a hand and try to lift you back up. I'm like, would you even want the help? Was this the beginning of something? What? How? Dude. If it was a serious injury, she would have bled out by now. Was this the beginning of something romantic? Not a chance. Even if it was, I didn't have the courage to talk to her. Well, all we do is just offer her a hand, help her back up, and tell her to have a good day. Because after all, she wouldn't want help up the stairs. I quickly slipped past her. Sorry, but get help from Misumi or somebody else who likes 3D girls. Don't expect anything from me. But the girl still wasn't moving. I started to get a little worried. Did you break something? What ocean? When I got up the halfway the second set of stairs, I turned around and checked on her. She was clinging to the railing, trying her hardest to stand up. Okay, so at this point, she definitely wouldn't want help. Her knees were shaking like she was a newborn deer. There was blood on her knee. She scraped it. Maybe she scraped it. Again, that's a different scenario, but I remember falling down, scraping my knee. There was a bit of blood that came out of my knee. And the person's response to me on that was, "Why are you such a fucking bitch?" And I'm like, well, this makes me sad. It's like I have fallen down, I am hurt. And, I am being yelled at and insulted for it.
Huh.
But that's normal, that's just the way people are. Oh? I'd seen her face somewhere before. She's a new student. Was she the one who transferred my class last week? What was her name again? I couldn't remember. And she was crying, too. Did it hurt that? I mean, she hit really hard on that ground. She was already wobbling to begin with. I have no idea what's wrong, but I think she was already hurt. She really should have taken, it's an American school. I mean, yeah, you have to fucking be here. But it's a Japanese school. Though, then again, the rules on that have changed since COVID, so I don't know. Maybe people are allowed to stay home if they get hurt. I just know that my character is, skipping school all the time, and it's okay, so why are you not allowed? Are you being penalized for being a transfer student? Sure, it was a bad fall, but it shouldn't have been enough to make her cry. I mean, she was obviously hurt before. Nobody else was trying to help her. She finally managed to just barely stand up and then began to look down at her knee. She seemed to be checking how badly it was. I mean, I do the same thing. If I hurt my leg or something, I'd look down and see, okay, I scratched myself a little bit or something like that. Okay. It's make sure it's not something I need to, bandage. She wiped away her tears, then put down her bag and started to rummage through it. Get a Band-Aid? What was she trying to find, I wonder? Probably a Band-Aid. She suddenly pulled something out of the bag and held it above her head like she won a great victory. In her fingers, she held a bandage. Yay! Our eyes met. She quickly flushed with embarrassment and looked down. Well, I mean, yeah, she's self-conscious. I mean, somebody's looking at her. That's understandable. Well, she seemed okay. She didn't need my help at least, right? Yeah, she's good. I decided to just head my classroom and leave her there. I mean, yeah, at that point it would be morally wrong and immature and wrong of me to help her. That's what a bad person would do in this situation. Well, no, then they would shove her down the other staircase. Again, perhaps using your own real-life experiences on this is not a healthy comparison. I kept my head down and my gaze glued to my feet, as always. I arrived at my seat wordlessly. Actually, hadn't the girl said something to me on the day she transferred here, I'd forgotten all about it with what had happened with Rimi, but what had she meant?
Yo, Taku.
Hey, Taku. Hey, man. As always, Misumi said hello to me. Maybe he didn't have any friends besides me. That would explain why he only ever seemed to talk to me, at least. Are you real? Get this, I saw these two weird guys going to the principal's office the other day. Those are the cops. Okay, if you weren't real, you wouldn't be able to tell me about stuff I wasn't there for. Because I wasn't there to see the cops go to the principal's office. So, yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell me about things I wasn't there for if you weren't real. I'm just saying, maybe you don't actually exist because you don't talk to other people, except for the other people that also don't exist. So Rimi and I decided to sneak a listen. And guess what? The two of them were detectives. Huh? Detectives. They were looking at a list of names of students in the school, and they had these really serious looks on their faces. Maybe it's got something to do with New Gen, you think? Maybe the New Gen killer goes to our school. For some reason, I found myself thinking of Rimi's face. In the end, they totally caught us spying, though. Actually, this is useful! Also, hi. Again, I feel like that's a reference to an anime. I forget what anime that is. Like, there's a girl with, long black hair, glasses, that goes, Eto! And, puts her hands on her head. Like, oh, my bad, but it's, actually about something serious. But acting like, oh, no, I spilled coffee. But no, it's like, oh, that's a nuclear missile that's exploding. No, oh, my bad. Something silly. I can't remember. But I will say this. At the very minimum, the expressions they are currently having and the demeanor they are having toward me, I like it, and it puts me at ease. It's like, okay, so now the story is that Lunar D8 is easily influenced by the environment around him. Yes, it's a lonely otaku guy playing a game about a lonely otaku guy. And both people, I don't know, well, Nishio seems to hate the attention and, the interactions with them. Me, I'm like, I'd be like a mix of, like, yay, I appreciate it. Because that's the thing, in general, even though I'm used to a lot of people IRL being, well, at least I still don't really interact with people anymore, thankfully. But that's more so just because a lot of the people in the past were just outright hostile to me. There was a very distinct lack of people like the people in front of me, which I would have appreciated. I did have friends. I still do. I mean, they're still my friends. I still care about them. I just haven't talked to them in forever. They're busy with their own stuff, and honestly, I don't feel like they want to talk to me anymore. So, and usually going outside or talking to other people would just, regardless of whatever you do or say, there really isn't a positive outcome that can ever happen. So why would you do something that you know has a 100% chance of failure and of negative consequences? Then again, like I said, it's a mix of being paranoid and jaded, but also being a lonely person that actually does want to talk to people and be sociable with people. And don't get me wrong, there's also an interest in romantic interactions, both on a physical, sexual way, and also just somebody you're that close to emotionally. But at the same time, bad experiences, it's both a mix of, one, bad experiences there, so I know how badly things can go, enough that, that's enough as far as to incentivize me not to fuck with that, interhuman interaction shit anymore. But also, there's also the fact that I'm incredibly unattractive to look at, and I have nothing to me that has any value to other people. So there's no reason why anybody would want to actually have an attraction to me in any way. So why would I bother people then? If obviously the other people in question don't like me and could never like me, then why would I bother them? Why would I annoy them? All I'm going to do is make them uncomfortable and irritate them. Besides, I had already ignored that idea already and tried, and all that did was, cause further issues. So, it's just an issue of learning common sense. That being said, while there are suspicions of these two between both me being the way I am as Nishijo, as well as other circumstances, I'd say for the time being, I'd just be grateful and happy that these two are here, regardless if they are actually somehow going to kill me or are entirely figments of my imagination. But yeah, as far as real life, it's an issue of, one, the likelihood of human interactions turning out very badly has proven to be a very high percentage, as well as, even then, it's just a realistic expectation of myself. Simply put, there's nothing about me that would be worth somebody else caring about. I'm not attractive. I'm not physically strong. I'm not somebody that enjoys fighting or seeks fighting. I'm an extremely non-violent, peaceful person. I'm not rich. I'm only 5'11". I'm fat. Not muscular. I'm not. I play guitar and stuff, but I'm terrible at it. I try to do some drawing with some chicken scratch. I'm trying to learn German, but I totally would not be able to communicate with a German person at the moment. So that's going to require a lot of work. I was trying to listen to Zen Zook to look through the lyrics of that, just like, heck, if I ever do learn German, I'm going to have accents based off of Till Linderman, as well as the other German bands. I don't know if that's a good or bad way to learn a foreign language. Then again, there's always that expectation, given other circumstances that prove this way of thinking to be correct, that basically all people, even if they're your family or friends, at any point may choose to try to murder you at any time if you slightly irritate them at all. That's just common sense. I mean, that's also what the Bible teaches you. So it's just common sense, and both practical applications of how the real world works, and about just everything both school and church has taught you since the dawn of time, as well as history. But again, all things are about having a balance and being able to understand what's around you and be able to function in a healthy way in society. At the end of the day, you should do, like I said, I feel like the most important thing for people out there is, okay, what should you do? Be kind and try to read everything you can. Beyond that, what should you base your morality on? Regardless if you're religious or not, you should base your own morality off of your own understanding of things. At the end of the day, I believe strongly in the Bible, but I don't base my sense of morality over it. Also, I don't think anyone in this world should be, treated badly or punished in this world or the next for who they do or don't believe in. And people say, oh, you can only find salvation through Christ. I'm like, that's up to God. I'll leave that to God to decide. At the end of the day, though, I don't think it's right for somebody to be punished for a difference of opinion. What? Are people not supposed to have free will? Are people not supposed to be able to think things through? Let alone the idea of such a cruel, sadistic punishment. I mean, what's the point of torturing people or being that cruel to people? And again, it's not like I'm some saint. I play violent video games, and I enjoy playing the violent video games. But at the same time, I don't know. It bothers me how people can be like it to one another. And again, I'm sure it's possible. Like, if I was like, again, I don't judge people that have been in wars in the past. I mean, they had to do what they had to do, or else they were going to die. And even then, they were conscripted to that stuff. I mean, it's literally, you do it or you go to prison. Or you do it or the other person kills you. So, thankfully, I've lived my entire life not ever having to kill a single person. And granted, while that is a part of the reason why I've never joined a police force or a military, because I don't want to ever actually kill anybody, there's also the fact that, well, what use would I be in the fucking military? One, I'm not physically strong. Two, I wouldn't have the physical well-being, let alone the mental discipline to endure something like military training. My body wouldn't handle it, my mind wouldn't either. Also, I dislike authority. Simply put, lots of authority have abused their authority and treated me like shit or insulted me. And again, I'm like, why should I obey somebody that treats me like crap? Like, at the end of the day, do any of the politicians actually give a shit about me? If I was in the military, would the higher-ups actually care about me in any way? If I was in the police, would they care about me? At the end of the day, why should I care if they don't care about me? And then again, I wouldn't be capable of doing it. Like, I would not be up to it. Same way at one point I considered the idea, like, I want to help people. But one, I would never be able to afford being a doctor, but also, I would never have the skills to be capable of doing it. And also, that'd just be a great deal of pressure. And what if I fuck up? People could die. That's the opposite of helping people. I want to help people, but at the same time, I don't really think I'm capable of that. So, and then again, I would never afford it anyway. Main point is this: I do treat like real life that, hey, you should be understanding of people, and in this situation, I should definitely be grateful for these two being here and treat them nicely. But we do have other circumstances to be weary of. But until they actually do something that warrants me, then again, part of me is also expecting them to suddenly stab me, and I'm like, okay, right, I was being dumb. I should have known better than to trust them. Common sense prevails. So, yeah. Like I said, life is a lot of conflicting information. But then again, I'm also being a bit unrealistic on that just because I'm applying a negative circumstance that occurred where someone I trusted turned out to be violent to be like, well, you trusted this person, So why would this other person you trust also not behave in such a way? Also, the thousands of other things. Still, main point is, I think the most important thing is, yeah, base your sense of morality off of what is kind and what is logical. Also, what is in your best interest. But I will say this. Regardless of Nishijo's paranoia or jaded outlook on life, also his very selfish view of his interaction with human beings. I mean, hell, there's a girl on the fucking stairs, and all we're thinking about is, oh, I can see your panties. I'm like, yes, obviously, your eyes are going to be drawn to that sort of stuff. But I mean, at this point in this situation, I mean, she's kind of fallen down and hurt herself, and we kind of need to prioritize caring about her well-being. But if we were going to help her, we should have done that at the start of it. Especially since no one else was intervening. I remember there was one time I was at a stop sign, and there was I was in my car, and there was an old woman walking with like a bunch of men. Looked like one was probably her husband, and the other was probably like her son, who was also like 50, because this woman looked like she was 80. And she took like one step out of the road, and one of her knees just like bent all the way backward, and she fell down. Obviously, it looked horrifyingly painful. But at that point, she's already surrounded by a group of people that are already actively helping her. And if me, the random person in a car, were to go over and try to help her, well, at that point, that would cause a car accident. I would just get more people hurt. Now, if she was there just by herself with no assistance, and like that, then yeah, I need to get out of my car, find a way to help this person. Heck, there are a few times I've seen car accidents occur where I was just walking. And I'm like, okay, 911, like, hey, this happened here at this place. You need to send people. And then granted, like, oh, why didn't you do anything in the car itself? Simple. As soon as I got off the phone, there's already people around the car helping the people out. So it's like, okay. It's like, well, I'm not needed here. If I stay, I'll just get in the way. But, like I said, it is nice that you two are here. Also, they're both very pretty. And they're talking to me. So they aren't real. You guys are figments of my imagination, aren't you? Well, at least my imagination's being nice to me. Either that or maybe need to stop eating spicy food before bed. But hi people that probably aren't real. But, again, you gave me useful information. You guys said that the detectives saw you, which means I can talk to the detectives and ask them, hey, did you see a girl with pink hair? After all, I kind of gave your description to the cops. So just logically, if they're one witness, if they're one single witness to a murder, says, hey, the person who did it is a girl with pink hair wearing my school uniform, and then they catch same said girl spying on them, logically they would have questioned you and found it extremely suspicious. But even then, even if not, I mean, I could still ask them, hey, did people see you? But yeah, this Logically, what you said doesn't make sense. Because I gave them a description. So according to that, they should have been suspicious just based off that. And even then, I can still ask them if they actually saw you or not. That way I can confirm if you're real. Unless when I talk to the cops, they aren't real. My body froze. Speak of the devil, I heard Remi's voice and my heart rate jumped. I couldn't look up, I was too nervous. It was a totally different type of nervousness than what I'd felt last week, though. That's because you opened the door. Do you understand? Don't blame me. I'd never seen a real detective before, so I got all excited, then I accidentally... How do you accidentally open a door? Thanks to that, even I got questioned about it. Did you do something that you don't want the police to know about, Daichin? What about you? Who knows? Ha ha ha. The two of them were talking, one on each side of my desk. They were both totally ignoring me. But to be honest, I preferred it that way. If Remy talked to me, I wasn't sure I could answer back. I was hoping that the bell would ring, but when I looked over the clock, I saw there were 5 more minutes until first bell. Hey, Taku. Did you say Kozue on her way home? That was the girl limping up the staircase. Kozue, who's that? Oh, right. I was thinking you wouldn't remember, and I guess you don't. The girl who transferred in last week, Kozue Arahara. Oh, so her name is Kozue Arahara. On the stairs? The stairs? I saw her. Oh, okay. She'll be here soon. Then... Misumi's voice was filled with eager anticipation. I hadn't seen him this alive since he found out that Fess was a girl in the next class over a few days ago. I'd never seen him excited about anything that didn't involve girls, actually. Come to think of it, hadn't he tried to hit on the transfer student on her first day too? It was kind of impressive, actually, especially since he already had a girlfriend. Hey, don't you think that Kozue's really cute? I wasn't sure how to answer that. I gave him a vague nod. He seemed to take it as a yes. Right. I liked her at first sight. She's kind of the girl who makes you feel like you have to protect her, right? All the guys in class agree. They all think she's cute, but the girls don't really like her. Are they jealous? She just transferred here, right? But some of them are even saying she's annoying. I mean, it sounds like they're just jealous. Too many girls in this class have really nasty personalities. I mean, that's everyone. There's lots of people. I mean, there's a reason why I don't talk to a lot of people, just because a lot of people took offense to just me existing. But staying home all the time was not an option, so you learn to deal with people being bad people. That's your fault, isn't it, Daichin? Let me guess. The one who said she was annoying was your girlfriend, right? Oh yeah, why? Well, of course your girlfriend's not going to like her. Her boyfriend started hitting on the girl right in front of her. Even I get hassled a lot. Stay away from my Daisuke, she says. Actually, a bunch of girls have told me that. Really? You seriously didn't realize? Why not try to change your ways a little? It sure is tough being popular, huh? Again, I mean, I appreciate you guys talking to me, but if you're so popular, why are you talking to me? One, obviously Nishido does not have a nice, pleasant personality. Two, what possible interest could you have in me? to want to be my friend.
これだよ。さすが女の敵。もう
This is
私
what I'm
フォ
talking
ロー
about.
して
You're
あ
an
げない
enemy
か
to
ら
women
ね。
everywhere. I won't be backing you up from now on, okay?
あ、折原さん来た。
Oh, there's Orihara.
なんか
She looks like she's hurt, doesn't she?
本当だ。どうしたんだろう。
Yeah, what happened? It was from when she tripped on the staircase. She was wobbling before that. Of course, I didn't tell them about that. I mean, yeah, we already told them, actually. We said we saw her on the stairs. For now. I wanted to minimize the amount of time I spent talking to
俺
her.
ちょっと行ってくれ
I'll go check it out. Misumi ran off toward the transfer. Rumi was now the only one standing next to me. Please, Misumi, don't leave me. Rimi didn't say a thing, but she didn't make any move to leave either. I kept staring down at my desk so I couldn't see the look on her face. More than likely, she's probably watching Misumi, while occasionally glancing at me just because I'm her friend and she wants to see what my responses are, but she can see I'm a bit closed off, so she's not trying to push me on it. But she's probably watching me because she's like, hey, somebody came in and they look hurt. So obviously you're going to pay attention to that. So she's probably focused on the person who appears to be injured. I could only see her waist, but I could tell that she was facing me. She was looking at me. She's probably thinking about what happened yesterday, and she's probably feeling awkward and trying to figure out what and how to say, or even if or when. So, she probably feels awkward herself, and is probably trying to figure out what to do. What should I say? Some kind of normal greeting? But I never said hello to anybody, which meant if I started here, it would seem really unnatural. I talk about the transfer student, but I never gossiped really at all. So if I started now, it would seem really unnatural. Thank her for the other day? No, that should I apologize for being mean after she saved me? Ask her what she was doing there. Ask her if she held me close because she liked me? I mean, she did actually tease us about that a little bit a couple days ago, saying, hey, do you like me? I mean, she literally asked us that verbatim. So, I mean, and while I do feel Nishio's kind of jumping to conclusions about the stuff in regard to, like, especially the girl at the staircase, whom we just sort of ignored. In this situation, the person literally did say directly to us, hey, do you like me? I mean, we were literally verbatim asked. Or maybe ask her what she was doing at the scene of the crucified. No, none of those things were just bring up the middle casual conversation. I suppose at this point, what we should do is, despite the fact that we do have memories of her at a murder scene, we should give her the benefit of the doubt because she has been. Granted, Yua was similar. Yua was being nice to us, and then all of a sudden, she just immediately 180'd her personality, and it was all just completely faked. So there is that possibility, but we should at least give Remy the benefit of the doubt, especially given the incident in the... Because here's the thing. Before the incident in the middle of the street, foregoing even the aspect of her being nice to us and giving us a hug and actually being supportive to us in a time of need, there is a question. We were not seeing people in the city, and then they were just sort of there. I mean, it's not like they all just went to, like, the bathroom at the same time. So, if we could be mistaken about something so large in scope about the existence of all of the other fucking cars and thousands of people and noises I should be able to hear, there is a chance I maybe saw her at that one scene. And there's the fact that we are apparently doing memories with her that we do not remember. So even though we don't have much time to say it, I guess if we have like 2 minutes to do this in this situation before the bell rings, we should look at Remy and say, Remy, have I had a head injury? And she's like, wait, what do you mean? Like, I've been having trouble remembering things correctly, and I have a lot of blank spots in my memory. Is there some reason why that should be the case that I'm not aware of? The other thing is this. Even though Nishijo worries about it a lot in terms of violence, I mean, I don't know if Nishijo himself has actually been, beat the fuck out of before. Whereas the IRL looter, I got used to the idea that, okay, people are physically violent to you. Because it wasn't just, oh, I'm paranoid about this. Like, no, it actually fucking happened over and 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 over again. So I at least had, reasons to feel that way, other than just being an antisocial person. But at the very least, like I said, we should just mention Remy. Hey, Remy, did I have a head injury or something? Like, he's like, what do you mean? Why? What's up, Taku? It's like, I have gaps in my memory. There are things I don't remember correctly, and there's things I don't remember. Like I'm having little blackouts. So is there a reason for that I'm not aware of? My ear is itchy. I just got kind of sweaty. Let's see where we go, Taku. And here's the thing, it's not like it's hard to talk to women. I've talked to women lots and lots and lots and lots. But at the end of the day, I'm older now. It'd be really too... Because here's the thing, most people my own age would already be in a relationship, and even then, it's like, I would want to get to know the person first. Because here's the thing, because on the one hand, you want to try to date someone right away, but on the other hand, you want to get to know them first, because you want to make sure what kind of person are they. And even then, when I am around people, it's not like... Because here's the thing, in any relationship I've ever had, any date I've ever had, I never brought up having depression or negative issues from my past. Because why would I bother people with that? And even then, most people tend to look down on people that have depression or negative thoughts or feelings. So you just keep that to yourself, because otherwise you just come off as whiny. And everyone's like, well, if it's so whiny, why are you talking about it now? And the answer is, well, let me drink this water. As I burp into the microphone. And the answer is because I feel the need to talk about it. But, one, I have no people to talk to, and two, even if I did have people to talk to, I'd feel very remiss to, talk to them about such things. But, one, it makes me feel better to do this, because it's mainly for myself, but also, if there's other people watching this, maybe they also feel the same on it, and at the very least, maybe it'll make them feel better, and make them feel a little bit more aware of certain emotional states that they have that are in parallel with mine, which will help them to, be more sociable, or at least be kinder to themselves. I don't know. I know, it's kind of arrogant of me to hope that this would be of any help to other people, or even entertaining to listen to. But, yeah. In real life, I at least, I feel I'm very good at actually paying attention to people's body languages and facial expressions and tone of their voice to understand, what it is they want. So that way I can tell whether or not, okay, what do they want to talk about? Are they enjoying talking to me? Has the conversation gone on too long? Do they want me to leave? And even then, okay, you start talking to a girl, you're approaching it from the idea, we're starting just a conversation. Because, I want to get to know the person, too. I want to know what kind of personality do they have. Are they the kind of person, that I'd actually want to be around? And even then, it's an issue everyone's well, you're always smiling and stuff, even though you're kind of sad. I'm well, this is one, I actually do enjoy talking to people, and two, even though I am a bit anxious and nervous, I do, want them to enjoy talking to me. So, it's not that it's fake at that point, it's just a part of myself that I just don't have occasion to share very often. So I'm able to be open about that piece of me. Whereas a lot of times you have to keep that reserved for just, common sense. Or because you realize in certain situations, that part of who you are is not allowed. You're not allowed to talk to people. they do not want to talk to you. But again, and maybe you should just try and see what happens. And again, everyone's situation is different and unique. But I'd say certainly in a situation like this, where there's somebody actually actively choosing to be sociable with you, you should certainly smile and be kind and happy and enjoy their company. Now, of course, you might be down from time to time, but it's not like you're really going to cry on their shoulder and shit like that, because that would be just that's an extremely intimate thing, and that's not really a thing I would feel comfortable doing with most people. In general, IRL, I try to be as stoic and as reserved with emotions in regard to, like, say, anxiety, fear, sadness, and keep that to myself. But I do tend to be very friendly and smile, just because, granted, I'm not charismatic, I'm awkward as fuck, but I at least feel I'm good at being sociable, and I feel I'm good at least trying to understand what people want, so that I can at least be pleasant company. I mean, for the most part, like I said, I'll cuss at video games in my own time, but if I'm playing a video game around somebody else, I'll tend to be very quiet, because I don't want to make them uncomfortable. I mean, who wants to play a video game with somebody that's just constantly cussing and screaming at your... So, I mean, I'll play a game for Let's Play and I'll cuss my fucking head off. I'll play a game by myself and I'll cuss. But if I'm playing a video game and somebody else is nearby, I'll be very quiet. Heck, I remember a lot of times when I was, a teenager, I'd play video games on my PS2 or my PlayStation or my Sega Genesis. I remember, sitting in my room on a metal folding chair, and I'd play like Final Fantasy or something like that. But what I would do is I'd be sitting like right directly in front of my TV, like about a foot away, in a metal folding chair, and I'd have earbuds plugged into my television. That way, nobody outside my room could hear the TV, and I would sit there in complete silence, just staring at the screen, playing my game. I mean, but that's mainly just because it would be annoying to everyone else in the house if I were to be making noise. So it's just common sense. Damn it, what was I supposed to do? The silence was making the pressure worse and worse. I needed to say something. It would be even more awkward to just sit here in silence. I knew both things were true, but the words just didn't come. I hated dealing with 3D worlds so much. How could anybody deal with this place if just trying to talk made you feel like you were choking? I needed to get home and have Saratan make me feel better. Hey, Taku? Remy finally spoke. Then again, wasn't there one time I talked to you and you literally told me you were reading my mind? Like, she literally verbatim said word for word that she was reading my mind. Remy finally spoke. My body shivered. I still couldn't look up. Were you okay after that the other day? I mean, this is a very reasonable thing to say. I mean, honestly, it'd be really weird if your friend wasn't worried about you after such a thing. Honestly, it would have been normal for her to chase after us. I'm like, no, I'm going to walk you home. That was really weird what just happened. I'm worried about you. So, all in all, like I said, murder things aside, and other things of concern in society, Remy and Misumi are being good friends to us. And there is no reason for us to have any negative feelings or hostility toward them. There's no reason for us not to trust them or have faith in them. But we also have memories involving, murders and stuff. Also, there's serial killing stuff going on. So there are concerns there. Remy's voice dropped low. It felt like I could feel her breath, faintly tickling my ear. I looked up to see her face was close, and she was whispering to me. Her body was close to mine. She's trying not to embarrass me in front of everyone else. If she just was loud proclaiming that, hey, are you okay after that bad thing that happened to you yesterday? Everyone would be like, yeah. Her body was close to mine. Her soft, warm body that held me close in the middle of the road. The sensation of her body filled my mind, and I couldn't think about anything else. I was pretty worried about whether you'd get home safely or not. I nodded forcefully several times.
そっか、
Okay,
よかった。
good.
もうあんな危ないことしちゃダメだぞ。
Don't do anything that dangerous again, okay? That was all she said before she turned to go away. Suddenly, I wanted to ask. She said she had said whatever I'd done was dangerous. We were in the middle of the road. But to be fair, there were no cars then, so I couldn't be hit by a car, because the cars didn't exist, because all of the cars were also in the bathroom, with all the people that were also in the bathroom. The real question is, what did everyone else eat for lunch that day? What did she think I had been doing? From the fact that she hadn't brought them up, she might not know anything about the people disappearing from Shibuya, or Shogun in his wheelchair. Did that mean they were really part of my delusion? I just wanted to ask Ruby that. But I didn't feel like I could raise my head and ask any more questions. Not today. I wasn't ready. I'd ask them next time. Next time I came to school. Yeah, that was it. I'd take some time and think about everything I needed to ask. Huh?
ねえタク、
Hey, Taku.
折原さんがこっち来た
Orihara's coming over here. Is she gonna yell at me? Transfer student? Why would she be coming over here? Was she going to get mad at me for not helping her on the stairs? She didn't look like that type of girl. Maybe she wanted to talk to Ruby, not me. I do not understand the expression on your face. The transfer student stopped right next to Ruby. She wasn't saying anything. What was going on? With Remy here, I couldn't look up. The transfer student's feet seemed to nervously fidgeting, but she didn't say anything. Why? Are you scared of Remy? Are you scared of me? Where's Masumi? Does he actually exist anymore? Does my brain not have enough RAM bandwidth to, like, imagine multiple imaginary people at once?
折原さん、どうしたの？
Urahara, what's up? For some reason, she put up a single bandage down on the edge of the desk. It was a fancy one and had a weird character Jiro Frog yet. Okay, wait. Okay. Is it like this world's version of Hello Kitty? What is happening? Was she giving... Why are you giving me a band-aid? I don't understand. Was she giving me this? I wasn't sure how to react to that. This transfer student was a bit of an odd idea. What? Were you perfectly fine and I was the one who tripped? Did I, like, twist my fucking ankle running through the imaginary cities where all the trucks were eating donuts? Am I the one who was hurt? Was I bleeding? Did you take out the did I fall down and imagine that you did it? And you took out the band-aid to give to me? And I'm like, no, and I, like, wobbled off? I would have noticed if I was limping. Why did you make that noise? I don't understand.
折原さん、泣かないで。
But, don't cry, Orihara. I don't understand what's happening. Huh? What, was she crying? Why was she crying? Because I didn't say anything? But she didn't say anything earlier either, right?
タクは怒ってるわけじゃないと思うよ。
I don't think Taku's mad. What? 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 Why would I be mad? Why are you giving him a band-aid? I mean, obviously, okay, Remy's reading the room as far as, okay, she seems apprehensive, so you can assume this person is feeling I'm upset at her. But I imagine the next logical thing to say in this situation is, from Remy's perspective, assuming that she's a real person and not a figment of my imagination, would be to look at me and after saying, I don't think Taku's mad. Right, Taku? There's no reason why you'd be mad. I'm like, no, no. I don't understand. Why would I be mad? I mean, Everyone else hates me, but why? Why would I be angry? What? Why? I don't understand. Rami backed me up. I don't understand what's occurring here. It felt strange. I didn't know anything about Rimi, but she knew all about me.
彼ってあんまり人と目を合わせようとしないの。引っ込み思案ってやつ。
He doesn't really like to look into other people's eyes. He's just shy. So were you just explaining my social anxiety? Okay.
だからそんなにガチガチ
So
に
you
緊張し
don't
なくて
need
も。
to be so nervous, okay? Taha?
え、
Huh?
私にも絆創膏くれるの？
You're giving me a band-aid
あ
too?
りがとう。
Thanks. You got out another band-aid and gave it to her? Like, I don't understand. Transfer student bowed and ran back to her own seat. How are you running? You were limping, and then you fell down. Is your leg even still bleeding? Was it ever bleeding to begin with? What is happening? How are you running?
なんだかよくわかんないんだけど、タク、その絆創膏もらってあげるべきだと思う。
I don't really understand what that was about. Taku, you should accept gifts when someone gives them to you. I understand that. I feel the same on that, but I'm so confused. What is happening? Why has she given it to me?
梢ちゃん、無口だよな。
Kozue is really quiet. Yeah, she was hurt. You guys confirmed it. You both said that a moment ago. So how was she running? Obviously, it was a euphemism. It was used not literally. It was saying that she was moving with quick purpose. They just left out the part where she's wobbling. She's probably just like leaning on desks as she goes by so that she's keeping her balance. Plus, it's a flat, even area. It's only a few feet. And I only watched her for a few. Like, okay. It makes sense now. Kozue is really quiet. I could sense Misumi coming back. I showed her around the school on her way here.
うわ、早くも手出したんだ。
Okay. Ooh, you went after her already. Okay, but here's the thing. Buddy, she was limping up those stairs before she fell down. Was she limping when you were walking? Obviously, here's the thing. If you see somebody, even if you're like, hey, I'm going to escort them around and show them stuff, if you see the person limping, you're like, oh my God, they're hurt. I shouldn't, push them to walk around. And then the sister will be like, okay, you're hurt. I should suggest to them they should stay home. After all, you shouldn't get hurt. At the very least, okay, they want to walk around the school, that's fine. But I shouldn't be the one pushing them to do it. That'd be very inconsiderate on my part. I haven't really gone after her yet. Okay, one hand, it's understandable, even if you have a girlfriend. Okay, you're talking to people, being sociable, that's fine. You're just having friends. But one, you have given prior, proof, both in action and in things you've said, that you are pursuing people. And two, you said yet. You said yet. Anyway, I showed her around for about an hour. And it was just me talking the whole time. It was a little exhausting. Okay, but here's the thing. Was she limping? Is she limping because she was tired? Even then, that shouldn't have done that. Why was she limping? Did she get hurt? Obviously, she couldn't have been limping before you escorted her around, or else, you wouldn't have escorted her around, because that would have been very rude and inconsiderate to try to push somebody who is limping to walk around more. That just wouldn't be considerate. But in the same regard, was that yesterday? Was that today? I showed her around the school on her way here. Why would you have been around her that early? Why were any of you here that early before school? And even then, that means you spent the entirety of time up until the time of the staircase, which means she either got hurt when she was walking with you, or in the span of a couple minutes between you and me. Both of those I feel are a massive red flag, Nasumi. What is occurring here? How is she hurt? Even if it wasn't the thing of me seeing her on the staircase or all that, the limping is the fact this. Remy should be concerned. She should be mentioning, hey, Nasumi, you just said that you walked around with her around the entire school for an hour right before she got here. And she was limping and looking hurt. What is occurring here?
しかもすぐ泣きべそかく
She would break into tears all the time, too. What? But, one, why? Two, why was she crying while you were talking to her? I don't understand.
そうそう。今も急に泣き出したから。
Yeah, she just started crying here too. I was really worried that something might have happened.
そんだけピュアなんだよ
She just got really pure heart. Okay, 2 plus 2 is not equaling 5 here.
なたく
Yes,
お前ならわかるだろう
I'm making a joke in inopportune time.
一つ一つ
George
の可愛さ
Orwell,
ってのがよ
okay? 1984. Hey, Taka, you understand, right? Also, there's multiple books. There's Animal Farm, 1984, Brave New World, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. All very interesting stories. There's actually 100 more stories just like that. Hey, Taka, you understand, right? How everything she does is really cute. I mean, one, I feel I'm being a little biased because I just think in general she's cute. Then again, I think both of you are also very pretty. So, I mean, I'd be happy with a relationship with any of you, aside from my own psychological impairments. And also the fact that I don't know if any of you are actually real. Or potentially murderers. Or why you're actually talking to me. There's no logical reason for you to be interacting with me. Which again, it's not a judgment of you. I'm not criticizing you guys, whether you're talking to me or not, or in the same regard, I'm not criticizing the people who don't want to talk to me. It's perfectly valid and understandable that they wouldn't want to talk to me. One, people can't be friends with everyone. People have limited resources in terms of, heck, I'm a bit of an introverted person, just talking to people in general, even though I can do it, is exhausting. So obviously I can't go up and talk to everyone. You have to sort of prioritize certain things. That being said, if people do not want to talk to me or be my friend or date me or be around me, that's understandable and I don't blame them at all. One, they have their time. Two, limited resources of time and energy and what to do with your day. But also, again, why would they want to talk to me? Why would they want to date me? Why would they want to interact with me? There is nothing about me that has any sort of value or specialness that would warrant somebody wanting to interact with me. So it's perfectly understandable that they find me disgusting and want nothing to do with me. That's perfectly normal. That's perfectly understandable. And their feelings on that are perfectly valid. And I do not fault them or look down on them in any way for that. That is something I don't blame them for. That is my fault for being me. That being said, it is kind of fucked up they're over there talking about me right now, saying fucked up shit about me, and even talking about how much they wish I was dead. That I do hold against them. Also, that person just fucking threw something at me. Or the fact that I just went to the bathroom and now somebody's taken several pins and broken them all over my desk, and now there is ink all over my fucking desk at my chair. Or, okay, we're at gym class, and you have taken my backpack and thrown it into the showers, and now all my shit is soaked. But that I do have an issue with, but I think I'm very validated in feeling angry at them for doing that stuff. But for just in general not wanting to see or talk to me, that's understandable. So in general, you go to class, you put your head down. Why? Because people are angry if you look at them. People are angry if they hear you talk. People are angry that you exist. But as long as they leave me alone, that's fine. But the fact that I'm overhearing them talk about how much they hate me, that's, I mean, yes, you can think that, but do you have to be talking about it right there, where I can hear you? But yeah, yeah. I enjoy that you guys are talking to me. You guys are being very friendly with me, and yes, all three of you are cute. But again, why is she crying? Why was she crying when she'd walk with you? Well, how is she hurt? If she was walking around with you, then she wasn't hurt. How is she hurt now? How is she moving at a quick pace if she was hurt? Is she hurt? Are any of you real? That's what you called moe, right? I don't know. What? Are you holding in a shit or something? I shook my head as hard as I could. Taku hasn't said a word this whole time. That's because you're here, Riri. I'd never really talked to a female friend before. I'd never even had a female friend. But you know, when I was talking to Orihara, I kind of felt like talking to her would tire you out, maybe. I don't know. Okay. Again, are you real? Is she real? And the words you were saying to her was me saying it, but imagining you were saying it, not me? Are you Tyler Durden? But, cute? And also having superpowers and metal crucifixion stake things. Girls are brutal to each other. Don't worry, though. I'll protect Kozue. I feel confused on this, and I feel like I question your motivations on this, Misumi. That being said, I have heard, as much as I've heard negative things from me, I'll say this. For the most part, any negative things that really occurred to me were usually guys and bullies and shit like that, and fighting and physical violence. But there are so many times, as you learn to be invisible, that you overhear people talking about each other and to one another. And the amount of times I would hear women gossiping and saying the most hateful things about one another, even people that I would hear them pretend to be friends with, I would hear them say nice things to each other to their face, and then I would hear them say the most horrible things about the person behind their back, and I'm like, but you were just pretending to be that person's friend, and now I'm hearing you say very hateful things. So, I'm just saying a lot of very confusing information on this. Didn't you just say talking to her was exhausting a few seconds? Again, how was she hurt? Shut up. Kozue's got the same smell about her as Taku. Like the kind of person you feel you need to look out for. I'm not sure how I should feel about that, but okay. Oh, I kind of understand that. Okay. The sound of the bell told me that all my classes for the day were finished. As soon as I heard it, I packed up all my stuff and headed out for the dorm. I wanted to get the heck out of there as soon as possible. Partially because of the awkward distance between me and Rimi. By the way, do we just never get homework at this school? Because I know when I was in school, I was constantly having stuff to do at school, plus I would also have homework. Like, you'd have assignments you had to do in class, and then you'd have assignments given to you at the end to do at home. And like I said, things I would do at home. I would try to see friends and family when I had time or when they had time. Beyond that, I'd play some video games. I also worked a full-time job. I also went to Boy Scouts, so I had meetings throughout the week. I had stuff I had to do. I had camping trips to go on. I also would walk around town and just sort of, just walk around town and enjoy walking and go on bike trails and walk there. But also I had something to pick up at the manga Dorake today. In the end, I was never able to say a word to Mimi. I had several chances to talk to her, but I kept silent the whole day, just like I had done in the morning. Maybe that was mean. Maybe I just made it even harder to talk to her next time. It felt like maybe I was only making things worse.
Oni?
Okay, it's my sister. Oh, brother. What's up, Nanami? I heard an annoying girl call to me as I left the school building. Nanami ran up to me with a trash can in her arms? She seemed to be in the middle of taking out the garbage? Okay, yeah. Why'd she have to bother me then? I tried to ignore her and leave, but as always, she refused to let me go. Nanami yanked on the hem of my blazer. How many times do you have to tell her to run when you see your sister? I mean, you're just reminding me to do my cardio, right? What do you want? Don't ask me that. I ran after you because you tried to run away. Don't run after me if you don't have anything to talk about. You never call home, for one thing. Well, I've already given up on that, though. I can't expect you to actually be considerate. Good, you understand. That's the kind of intellect I want to see in my little sister. Not that I need a 3D little sister at all. That's kind of harsh, but... I mean, it's not like she's done anything wrong. So from now on, I'll be going over to your place every few days. Be grateful. Crap, I should have known that was how this was going to end up. Won't somebody rid me of this obnoxious little sister? Probably shouldn't be wishing for that in a situation where there's constant murders occurring. Also, I don't know if she's wearing the bangle or not. Can't tell. No, if that was impossible. I'd at least wanted to get back at her a little. I wanted to get back at her for a long time, actually. Wait, I had an idea. I had a plan that I've been working on for a while. This was going to get a chance to practice. Maybe it was a little bit different. We're going to have her call that one phone number, aren't we? I looked around to make sure nobody was watching, and then beckoned on me to follow me into the yard. Huh? What? Come, with me. Why? Is there something there? Man, she was annoying. I mean, that's a perfectly valid answer she had. Like, hey, what's there? Like, what's going on? Yeah, why wouldn't she ask that? Can you just shut up and follow me? I need to ask you to do something important. Something important? You want me to do something? Her eyes were wide with shock. That's rare. You never ask me for anything. Just shut up and follow me. Hey, wait. There weren't that many people in the yard. At lunchtime, it was filled with students eating lunch. Nobody but the gardening club would bother coming here after school, though. So, what is it? She put her trash can down and looked at me with a smile. Oh, but you have to buy me dinner at MacD's. If you can do that, I'll help you, even though I really don't want to. Grr, she was annoying. I didn't think she'd want me to pay a price for it, especially since I'd already bought her MacD's. Well, whatever. Fine, I'll buy you MacD's. Huh? Really? You're different than your usual self today. I was actually lying. Sorry for being a liar. LOL. I handed Nanami my cell phone. Then I asked her to call the number, the one that had prank called me. You want me to call the number in your call history? Who is it? Somebody I know online. She looked at me suspiciously, so I came up with the most plausible sounding lie I could. Why don't we just be honest? Hey, this is a prank call that I received from somebody. I want confirmation. Heck, we should have her listen to the voicemail. Granted, who knows, maybe it has some supernatural power to it. I'm just saying, hey, I got this really weird call. I think it's a prank call. I want you to listen to the voicemail, give me your opinion, and if you could, we could call them together. That way you could at least confirm to me that, the person on the other line exists. Why do I have to call? You'll know when you do it. Are you plotting something? Yes. Geez, would you shut up? Just shut up and do what I tell you. And if you can't do that, then leave. I don't need you for anything. Fine. I won't ask you. I tried to take the phone back, but Nanami pulled her hand away from me. Fine, I'll call it. I just have to call the number, right? Really, you can be such a selfish brother. You don't get to talk. I held back my anger and gulped as I waited for her to call the number. Nanami instantly put the phone up to her ear and waited for someone to answer. I could see the yellow bangle on her wrist as she held up the phone. Is it going to activate because of the phone call thing? That was the one I gave her, or more precisely, that she'd taken from my room. She was wearing it to school. Does she like it that much? That cheap bangle I got for free? Nanami really did have a terrible fashion sense. Maybe I was the one to talk, though. No, that wasn't important right now. Who was going to answer the phone? Some scary DQN guy? I hoped it was just a prank, and had nothing to do with Shogun or Yuna. Oh? Hello? Someone seemed to have picked up. Nanami had picked up into the receiver, but she soon furrowed her brow. Then she offered the phone back to me. Okay, I'm confused. Brother! What? You know exactly what. It says the number is not in service. Huh? I took the phone and put it to my ear, and what I heard was... Huh. Well, it's true. Maybe it really was to prank them. Maybe whoever was buying it just call a bunch of random numbers and prank them before ditching the phone and number they were using. That was a lot of work for a prank. Well, it wasn't my problem. Now that I knew the mysterious call was just a prank, I felt much safer. Hey, what was that about? I'm done with you. Huh? But you said you'd get me McDonald's! I left Nanami behind and started to walk, but Nanami followed after me. Explain what that was about. Shut up. You're on cleaning duty, right? You left your trash can. Oh. But you didn't explain. We can explain later. Text me or something. Does my phone have texting? I'm going home. Nanami grabbed me, but I ignored her and started to walk quickly towards the school date. Okay, brother, just don't forget you owe me MacD's. Don't forget that, okay? Yeah, get you McDonald's eventually, okay? I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, did you lie to me? Yeah, I guess. Ugh. Nanami came to a stop, pounding. But I kept walking. Brother, you jerk. She screamed loud enough for everyone to hear. I looked back, annoyed, and she was glaring at me, shoulders heaving with rage. I hope the radiation for your phone fries your brain, and you die. Crap, thanks to Nanami's yelling, I was starting to attract attention. I had to go unnoticed in school. What an obnoxious little sister. I headed for the gate at a jog, ignoring her. The best move at a time like this was to run. I could hear her screaming even outside the gate. There was an artist I like to call Higashi Matashima. Higashi Matashima was super famous, and his circle was huge, lines, at every event he attended. His new blood-tuned dojin, which had come out in the summer, had sold out in an instant. I'd wanted to go, but those events were always too crowded for me. I had reluctantly given up. I thought that I could just buy it from Manga Drake, but I had been naive. They had sold out some copies there, but they were gone in minutes. The things were going for tens of thousands of yen above retail, online too, freaking net resellers. I'd hoped they'd all just die. They were doing that quite a bit with the PS5s in the first year they were out. People would buy them all up and then sell them at a huge markup. Thought I'd have to give up entirely. But at Gen yesterday, I'd happened to see a post saying that Manga Drake had gotten a new shipment in. That's why I'd come here right after school. Oh God, grant me a miracle. Can't we just look it up online? People just post scans of that. I had said a silent prayer in front of the shop and headed inside. I searched the doujinshi corner as thoroughly as I could. I went back and forth again and again, searching and searching. But I couldn't find it. Sob. Was it sold out already? I glanced quickly at the register. The cashier was a girl. She wasn't very cute, but she looked very friendly. Asking a cashier if they had something in stock was an extremely high-level technique, and what I had never used in my life. The reason was simple. I didn't have the courage. Especially since Higashi Maidasama's new dojo was called Saratam's Extreme Cos. Not a chance. Besides, most cashiers don't actually know. I mean, I've tried that before. I've asked cashiers, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't know," and they don't know how to look it up in the computer either. Excuse me, do you have a copy of Saratam's Extreme Cos? If I asked a female cashier that, I'd look like a pervert. Yeah, not happening. In the end, I gave up and left. Maybe I should just go home. Or maybe I should head to that cafe. As I walked along, uncertain of what to do, I caught a glimpse of a certain sword I had recognized in the corner of my eye. Its distinctive shape, like it was split in two at the edges, was the same girl that Girl B is. Sena had been holding. I could see it at the tip, peeking above the crowds, walking down the center street. It was coming toward me, so I quickly ran into a nearby arcade. I hid in the shadows and watched as Sena walked by. She was heading to the station at a fast pace, the same scary look on her face that she always had. It didn't seem like she'd noticed me. That said, the sword does look cool, but wouldn't that hurt? Like, where's the blade start? Would that be comfortable? Like, maybe you should like attach like a pillow or a cushion to that part of the sword to make it more comfortable to carry like that. After experiencing myself how embarrassing it was to carry a D-sword around the street, it was not hard to be impressed. Again, it said clearly in the thing we read that they are invisible to normal people. Wasn't she embarrassed at all while carrying that? The cops had to have stopped her at least once, right? I was sure of it. Santa was getting further and further away from me. Where could you get a cool D-sword like the one she has? The one I'd bought didn't glow and didn't look like that. Cool. Honestly, I was pretty dissatisfied with it. Compared to mine, Santa's was incredibly cool. I'd bought the D-sword at a good luck charm, mostly. I'd been scared to death, and she was ready to cling to anything that was offer salvation. After what had happened with Rimi, I felt a little better, but the situation hadn't changed. Shogun, Yua, I still had a lot of enemies out there. That's why I wanted a stronger-looking D-sword. Of course, part of it was just that I was an otaku, and we liked to collect things. True. As if drawn by Sena's D-sword, I found myself heading out into the Scramble Crossing. I bit my lip. Crap. I hadn't wanted to come near the station. My ear keeps being itchy. I didn't even want to go to the center street or the school. I'd only done it reluctantly because I had to. Being surrounded by people I didn't know made me feel like I had nowhere to run. It felt hard to breathe. I had been to a lot of concerts where there were like tens of thousands of people. That was quite uncomfortable. As usual, the place was packed. I started to feel sicker and sicker. For a while, I just stared at the ground, trying not to throw up. I mean, that's normal in those sort of situations. Usually the way you overcome that is you get some more caffeine, you eat some more sugar, eat a chocolate or something, and that makes you feel normal. When I looked up again, the D-sword was gone. I thought I'd seen her walking over the Hachiko's statue. The crosswalk lights on the Scramble Crossing had just turned green. Many people began to walk in many different directions. The area inside the crossing was pure chaos. It shocked me that so many people could each be going in their own directions without slamming into each other. Looking at it, I realized how impossible my delusion of an empty Scramble Crossing the other day was. There probably wasn't a single second in a year this place wasn't empty. Why was I chasing after Sena anyway? I couldn't even ask a cashier at Manga Drake if they had a doujin in stock. How was I supposed to be able to talk to that scary Sena girl? She might even be an enemy. If I walked right up to her without any defenses up, there's no way of telling what she could do to me. I was being crazy. I should just go home. But just when I turned to go... What? Noticed a white chain lying on the ground. And while I couldn't be sure, because the other pedestrians were blocking my view, it looked like it led all the way to the other side of the Scramble Crossing. What was that about? Is it hooked to Santa? Is it hooked to me? Are we linked to each other? It was an awfully long change. Was it some kind of construction thing? But it didn't look like anybody was doing any kind of construction. It was hard to believe somebody would just leave this chain here. Maybe it was for the TV or movie shoot. No, they wouldn't do a shoot with all the people around. Had somebody just left it here, then, a huge chain like this, it would have been a hassle to bring it here. Either way, it was in the way of the pedestrians and cars. Confused, I looked at the people around to see how they reacted. It looked like you could easily trip over the thing, but nobody was paying any attention. I rubbed my eyes and stared at it again, wondering if I'd just hallucinated it. But the chain was still there. I mean, it's still possibly hallucination, just a persistent one. It was creepy, so I didn't have the courage to touch it, though. It wasn't a cheap plastic thing. It was made of tough-looking metal. How long had it been there? Normally, I would think it was a trap. I'd assume something terrible was waiting for the other end of it and run away in fear. But for some reason, I couldn't stop thinking about where it might lead. A kind of oppressive force was taking over my mind and telling me I needed to follow it. I stumbled into several people as I went, but I managed to make it to the other side of the crossing before the light turned red. The chain led to an old train car painted dark green that was sitting next to the Hachiko statue. The train's car wheels had been removed, so it was more like a monument than something you could actually use. This car was open to anybody who wanted to go inside, if I remembered right. The chain led through the car's open door and inside. There were a lot of people waiting around Hachiko, but nobody was paying any attention. They didn't even seem to notice it was there. It didn't seem like anybody was inside the train car either. I gulped and looked inside. Okay. It was only then that I realized it was a trap. I didn't understand why it would take me this long to notice. Okay, so the chain does lead to you. I didn't understand. Is the other chain like hooked to me? The train car had seemed empty, but there was actually a single person inside. Sena Aoi, was sitting on one of the red seats, her legs crossed. Her sharp gaze was locked firmly onto me. For some reason, she had a popsicle in her hand. You eat a lot of those. Do you have like a body temperature issue? I mean, I technically do. I tend to overheat quite a bit. Like, my body tends to produce a lot of body heat. That shade of blue. It was a Gari-Kun, wasn't it? No, Gari-Kun wasn't important right now. The strange thing was, I didn't see her huge D-sword anywhere. It was so big, where could she have hidden it? Instead of the sword, the white chain was coiled on her feet. I realized that when we last met, she had something about being at a train car. This must have been what she meant. Did she invite us to go meet her at a train car? I think she did, but I don't know what day. So she'd been the one to put the chain out there. Had she actually walked around carrying that huge thing? Had to weigh at least 10 kilograms, and it was probably over 50 meters long. There was something about this girl that was just beyond my understanding. She wasn't normal. Could she be Shogun? I got scared and tried to run away. But then her sharp gaze came flying at me. Come in. I mean, it'd be rude to turn down the invitation. Suddenly, I stopped. Music! That's really nice music. There was a note of command in her voice. It was like the train car was her personal possession. Of course, I didn't have any intention of going inside. I didn't know who this girl was. Her name's Sana. And I could barely talk to 3D girls anyway. I mean, we're not entirely sure she's actually existed, so I don't think that counts then. I didn't want to get involved. I said come in. Sana's voice was commanding, and brooked no dissent. She wasn't moving, but if I made the slightest move to run, there was no telling what she'd do. She might be a really high-level DQ, and the kind who wouldn't think twice about getting violent with a man. I was scared. This music reminds me of Brave Fence Musashi. Frozen Palace. Yeah. This sounds like the music from the best video game ever made for PlayStation 1, Brave Fencer Musashi. It's Chapter 4, Frozen Palace. I was scared. But if I was obedient, it just might make things even worse. I'd have to deal with the DQNs a few times in my life. The best thing to do was always to run. Whether you did that, what they said or not, awful things always ended up happening to you, so the best thing to do was to run. I need to find a way to get out of here. Is the chain around me? Suddenly something pushed me forward. I was caught off guard and lost my balance, falling forward like an idiot into the train. Shocked, I turned toward the entrance to see who had pushed me. There was a lot of people outside, but I couldn't tell which one of them had done it. Maybe they had already run away. Why did they push me, though? Who'd do something so mean? I'd hit my knee when I'd fallen, and it hurt a little. I slowly staggered to my feet, being careful not to look Sana in the eye. Huh. Suddenly, I realized something. The coil chain that had been at Santa's feet just a moment ago was now completely gone. She must have moved it somewhere, but I hadn't heard any sound, and she'd been sitting in her seat the whole time. And even if she had moved it, where would she have moved it to? We would have heard that. I couldn't see the chain anywhere in the car.
エラーはどこにあった？
Where was the error? Santa asked me another strange question, completely ignoring my
だから
confusion.
私をつけてきたんじゃないのか？
That's why you followed me, right? I shook my head quickly in confusion, and her expression only grew sterner. How do you not know about the chain? What, could you not see it? Where's your sword? Finally, she looked away from me, sighing a little and nibbling on her popsicle. Do you eat anything other than popsicles? When she released me from her terrible gaze, I almost collapsed. I wanted to sit on a seat, but she'd probably say something. I gave up on the idea.
お前が私をつけてきているのには気づいていた。
I realized you were following me.
私が作ったエラーが見えていただろう。
You saw the error I created, right? What?
だから
Do you
エラー
mean
って何？
error?
鎖だ。
The chain.
白い鎖。
The white chain. If that was what she meant, then yes, I'd seen it. I'd followed that strange white chain all the way here. But
でもどこにもない。
But it's gone. It disappeared.
消した。
I got rid of
私
it.
の妄想だからな。
It was my delusion, after all. Delusion? What was she talking about?
じゃあ
Then
剣は
what about the sword?
お前も持っているだろう。
You have one too, right? Not that I've noticed! Huh? She thought I had one. Of course I didn't. This conversation wasn't making any sense.
それより、
More importantly,
お前は何者なの？
who are you? I'm Nishio, I'm just some guy.
見えているみたいだけど、
You seem to be able to see.
は
Yeah, stuff that other people don't see. Doesn't mean it's real. What? Doesn't mean it's not real either. Sane glanced at me before jerking her head in the direction of the window.
この窓の外に何が
What do you see outside the window? What, is there gonna be a pterodactyl out there or some shit outside the window? Well, let's take a look. People, I saw lots of people. There were even more than there would be a second ago. Just looking at that made my head hurt. People with their heads down, playing with their cell phones. People laughing as they talked on this. Apparently, like, here's the thing. Granted, I understand the whole cell phone thing is getting a bit of issue. One, not only do we have lots of people of all ages, especially, you know, kids and adolescents on their phones all the time, like on TikTok and shit. But here's the thing. In general, like, granted, I'm an adult and I'm on YouTube quite a bit, but honestly, it's this. Well, there are no other things for me. But again, that's a unique circumstance for me. But even then, in general, most of the human race has become much more, especially since COVID, everyone's much more standoffish. Notice it's people are a lot more difficult to talk to. Everyone's much more reserved. But it's also the fact that it seems like there's a bit of an epidemic of everyone being on their phones all the time. But for as much as you can complain about America and England is, like, you're hearing reports of stuff in China to where, you know, it's become much more of a psychological condition, which I don't know why that's occurring. Maybe it's just because life is so bad there, and because the government's so strict on what you are and aren't allowed to say. On the one hand, sometimes I feel like there should be certain sites or stuff banned, but at the same time, I feel that would give the government too much power, and that would lead to tyranny. People just standing and watching other people go by. Most of the people I could see from where I was standing seemed to be waiting for someone else. Actually, how come none of these people actually tried to come inside the train?
完璧な世界
Do you think there's a perfect, complete world out there?
があるはずがない。
That's impossible.
エラーは確かに
There are
存在
errors.
す
They exist.
る。すべてのものは
Because everything, humans included, runs
電
on
気自動車
electricity.
だからな。
I mean, that is true. I mean, there is electricity. Was this her weird personal fanfiction? I mean, yeah, the human body does function off of the brain being a neural network, as well as a system of hormones that our internal organs produce, as well as blood flow, neurochemical signals. I mean, neurons communicate with various hormones, various chemicals, various molecules. There's neurotransmitters and chemicals that get transferred between different things both in the brain and the rest of the body. And there's also electrical signals that get turned and switched around in order to, for everything to communicate. I mean, I had similar fantasies all the time. I wasn't going to tell her not to have them. I mean, yeah, I can't really judge you. I mean, I'm the same. All the novels, all the movies, all the anime in the world came from goofy fantasies. So why were the fantasies of a novelist or a director okay, while the ones amateurs like me came up with were mocked? I guess because we don't make money off of it? What's more, think about it. All the great people of the history had goofy, childish fantasies. The Wright brothers honestly believed they could fly over 100 years ago. Yeah, and everyone laughed at them. Heck, Galileo got, under house arrest and accused of heresy for saying the Earth goes around the sun. And numerous people were executed for saying they wanted Bibles to be in a language everyone could read or wanting people not to be illiterate. Heck, the first person who suggested that microorganisms existed in bacteria and viruses, they locked that motherfucker up in an insane asylum for claiming that tiny animals people couldn't see existed. Honestly, if you went back in the past and tried to teach people how to make soap, they would probably kill you and call you a witch. Napoleon actually told people the word impossible is not in my dictionary. You shouldn't make fun of somebody for having fantasies. All of history's greats had fantasies. Yeah, but they had the power to do something about it. The problem was, this girl had suddenly started sharing hers with me. What you see doesn't matter. What matters is what you're being shown. People receive information about the outside world from their senses. Over 80% of that information comes from vision. The images your vision shows you are transmitted by optic nerves to the brain in the form of electrical impulses. I mean, weren't we having a similar thought about how cell phones work? Or even this. I'm at a computer. I'm hearing sounds and seeing images being projected on a screen. It was kind of like a phone, I thought. A phone took somebody's voice and turned it into an electrical signal, and then that signal information to someone else far away. And technically, a human brain functions the same way. I mean, technically, an eyeball is just a camera. Same way we have so many things that are electrical signals that are just interpreting what our senses tell us. A phone, huh? It's similar in a way. Did you read my thoughts? You have no idea how much hentai is in there. You probably don't want to read my mind. She read my mind. No, that was impossible. Had I spoken aloud about realizing it again? Do you know about VR technology? Are we all just in a deep dive? Are all the people out there NPCs and the people that I imagine are imaginary are actually other people in deep dive technology? What is happening? What kind of bullshit video game, horror, sci-fi, technology, cyberpunk thing is occurring? Are we going to run into Momoga? Yggdrasil? Do you know about VR technology? Virtual reality? Of course. This time I was careful not to say it out loud. Yeah, but she can assume. I mean, it'd be kind of silly if we didn't know what VR was. But even then, look at AI. There's AI technology that's getting so bad that it can replicate anything we see in computers. Realistically. And heck, you can see the hologram technology when it comes to Hatsune Miku. Why don't we do that with Goku and Vegeta or Deathclock, Metalocalypse? I'm just saying, if technology is growing, both artificial intelligence and hardware of stuff, it's growing at an exponential rate. I mean, think about it. Throughout most of human history, we had less than 500 million people until a few hundred years ago, around the Renaissance time. And then we got up to about a billion or so. Then around the time of the 1800s, we got up to a couple billion. And then over, for the most of human history, we stayed less than 500 million people for the whole planet. Now we're over 8 billion. So, the amount of people exploded. Even then, for how much of human history, heck, even during the time of Moses, we were still pretty much in the Bronze Age, the early parts. Really wasn't until And of course, we had some technology in Rome, but a lot of that got lost. It was rediscovered. But we really didn't surpass that until, you know, the 1800s. I mean, we got the Renaissance at the start of it. But even then, a lot of shit was really awful in terms of medicine. I mean, heck, even the president of the United States, George Washington, wound up getting killed by his own doctors from them being stupid. They're like, oh, he's got like pneumonia. Let's give him medicine that makes him vomit and have diarrhea, because we need to rebalance the amount of phlegm and fluids and stuff. Which, the medication they gave him actually was more dangerous. Like, he would have survived. Like, honestly, all he needed was like some antibiotics and some 7-Up and some crackers and some bed rest and protection from the elements, and he would have survived. I mean, technology has... I mean, think about it. I mean, here's the thing. Not even just like 2024 level internet. If you went from like the year 2005 and went back to 1985, just a difference of 20 years. If you went from the year 2005 and went back to 1985 and explained to people the level of technology that existed in 2005 to people that were alive in 1985, they would think you were insane. They would lock you up in insane. They would say it's completely delusional, that such things would be impossible. Also, I'm too cold now, but I'm also too hot. I had to pee. I'll be back, I have to pee. Okay, I'm back. I had to go to the bathroom. Visual rebuilding? Huh. This kind of reminds me of a concept. I think I've talked about it before. The idea that if artificial intelligence were ever created, it would need human interaction in order to continue to exist. Because over time, even if an AI had other AIs to work with, it needs human thought. Because at the end of the day, yes, humans are capable of thinking about things in a very paradoxical way. And they're also inventing. Basically, the human mind can be malleable. It's constantly fighting with itself in terms of homeostasis as well as heterostasis. Most living things do that. There's a constant urge to stay the same, but also a constant urge to change. Both those forces are in balance with each other. The idea is that the human mind takes a very unusual way of approaching it. And also, many human minds can function differently than other human minds. It's not just an issue like, some people are smarter than others or more gifted in certain fields. It's also that, and yes, part of it is nurture and environment and genetics. Part of it's your own genetics, your own structural makeup, potential damage that you've incurred to your body, and also the environment you're around, as well as the human interaction that you receive from other people. Nurture can play a very big part in the formation of a personality. That being said, a lot of it is also personal choice. But even then, even with all that factor, there's something else to it that I don't know how to describe, but to where, in general, people sometimes have different ways of processing information than other people. That being said, the idea is this. An AI, if left to its own devices, granted we haven't made true AIs in terms of sentience, but AIs that are capable of thinking to a degree, eventually have either psychotic breaks from processing too much information, or they wind up getting into a sort of degradation feedback loop that winds up breaking down their ability to function until they basically have a cascade failure. Think like severe advanced Parkinson's disease in a human mind, but with a computer. But interaction with a human can actually fix or reverse that degradation of the AI. As AI becomes much more advanced and more powerful, the need for human interaction would actually grow, not diminish. It's not that AIs would become independent of requiring humans, it's that even at a point where if an artificial intelligence were to grow in intellect to a degree that is far beyond the understanding of what a human being is capable of, it would actually magnify the need for that artificial intelligence to have an interaction with the human mind. But as far as visual rebuilding, might be an idea of, think of like physical rehab, but for a human brain. The idea is that, it could be physical damage, but also could just be, think of it like therapy for psychological reconditioning of someone who either needs to recover from something or a way of improving to a higher level. You're like, well, what's a good reference to that? Well, think like stuff at the gym. Rebuilding would be either helping somebody who was injured in a car accident recover mobility, or to help someone of good, already athletic health to become stronger or faster. But the idea is, in this situation, is the idea, what if you could use virtual reality as a way of recovering damage to a human brain, or keeping a brain in a coma from suffering negative effects? Huh? I was wrong. I've never heard of that. It's a technology being researched by American psychophysiologists. Take someone who's blind from birth and make it so they can see what's in front of them. It uses a tool similar to a video camera. Yeah, there's actually been a lot of stuff that they're making fake vein systems for transplants and stuff like that. That's fascinating. I mean, I hope it works and gets better. I mean, that means we can make it where all the people that are blind can see and all the people that are deaf can hear. I mean, heck, you can even make prosthetics that are much more physically capable and can give the person back, their mobility or independence. So, I mean, yeah, that's good. I hope the best on it. I wonder how that's possible. But the principle is quite simple. The video recorded by a camera and a human nerve impulse are both at their most fundamental level electrical signals. Yeah, I mean, technically we have brain scan technology that where we test it, where there's different things, where we can see we can introduce different visual stimulation to somebody, and we can measure responses both in the brain and as well as blood responses in terms of, heart rate, breathing. But also there's the idea that it is possible, like they do have technology where it does scan your brain, and this sounds sci-fi in itself, but it actually does exist, where, and it's not like, oh, it's some conspiracy theory. Like, no, it's stuff they were publicly admitting to, on public television. And it wasn't some TV show. But the idea is that you can have a certain impulse, like pictures of certain chemical profiles in a brain, and you know that, okay, that's a basketball. That's a certain song. Like they were doing it with music, to where they would have somebody imagine a musical tune, and then the computer would play back what they were thinking. It could even have paragraphs of information, to where you have the person just try to think of random phrases, and then the computer would scan the brain and be able to actually repeat it back. Like I said, between deepfake technology, computers, AI, and even just understanding the human brain and stuff, I mean, yes, there is a lot of potential how that can be misused. But there is a great deal of good that can be done with that, both in the development of AI as well as helping human beings to not only recover lost human functions, like sight, or even gain sight that they've never had, but also to perhaps gain new abilities that were beyond what a human being could have been capable of to begin with. That being said, I would say there would be concerns about a human being losing their humanity. But to some degree, that's usually whether it's having too many, physical modifications to either the structure of the body or the brain. Heck, I don't think it would work quite like the cyberpsychosis thing in the Cyberpunk game, but heck, Ghost in the Shell did a lot of ideas on that. That being said, I'm not sure if there's humans that are going to be able to figure this stuff out or not. Like, is it possible? Yes. But even with the AI technologies we've made, I feel like the human race collectively is, like, I think we're all getting dumber, like myself included. Like, I feel my own intelligence has been declining. So, but yeah, I mean, it's an amazing technology. It could be really good. Could be dangerous. All you need is something to convert the video into nerve impulses. They've already succeeded in tests. One research team already has a patient. A patent. Was that true? It felt like really well thought out delusion, but that kind of delusion includes stuff about patents. If you read the patent carefully, you'll discover something. Senna turned her gaze away from the window and toward me. She crossed her legs again slowly. If it were possible to convert a certain deliberately chosen information pattern into nerve impulses, you could make a pseudo AI that believed it was a human. You'd be able to control all 5 of a person's senses, in fact, their will itself. Well, I mean, to a degree, that would be true. I mean, hypothetically, if you could control everything a person sees, hears, one, I mean, heck, to some degree that's true of propaganda. Heck, even the algorithms on YouTube. If you can control what information a person is available, you can shape what they think and feel. Heck, it's also the idea that if you repeat something to someone over and over and over again, even if it's not true, they'll eventually start to believe it, especially if you give them evidence to back it up. Even if that evidence is a bit of a straw man in order to force that opinion. Isn't that how politics works? Isn't that how all the people having political discussions in countries that are at war with each other and religions work? You're trying to manipulate someone's thought process. And as far as manipulating somebody's will, I mean, even if, like, say, hypothetically, you can control everything a person sees, hears, tastes, feels, smells, you can control who they talk to, what those people say, what information and books they have available to. I mean, technically, if you have that much access to a person's well-being, you could also do other things, like influence the hormonal chemical responses in their brain. The train was right in front of Shibuya Station, but it was strangely quiet. It felt like the sound was being shut out. Of course, it was just my imagination. But I remembered the empty Shibuya I had seen days ago, and couldn't take my eyes off the crowd outside. Like I said before, people run on electricity. Electricity travels not just through the brain, but all the nerves in the body. In other words, you can control their movements as well. Theoretically, that is. I mean, technically, that's true. I mean, there's prosthetic devices where people can think and how the nerves connect to each other and how they communicate. And technically, you can influence people. Now, this works on both a technological level as well as something like possession if we're going supernatural or religious. I mean, heck, when I was 13, I have Holy Ghost. Still have. Glad that. Now, not due to any sort of goodness on my part or goodness of the preacher. It's more so faith in God making a decision. That being said, it doesn't change the fact that I have talked in tongues and done all that stuff in the church. And it's fascinating. I was still being very aware of myself in that situation. But I had no physical control over my body. My body was moving and saying things on its own, words I did not understand, and my body was moving on its own. But I had no actual control over myself in any way. Now, I don't know how many people who have had the Holy Ghost sort of thing in a church setting actually take the time to, critically think about it, to analyze it from a scientific point of view. Then again, preachers and pastors were constantly telling me that I asked too many fucking questions. But hypothetically, yes, if you could override the nervous system of a human being, you could force their body. But I don't even know what it would take to, have that kind of technology. What, are we going to have Elon Musk make computer chips that go in our brains that can do that? I mean, obviously, such a thing could have really huge benefits. I mean, a computer chip in your brain could, undo biological damage that comes with aging or concussions. It could allow you better storage memory, especially if you're a person getting Alzheimer's or something. It could help with that. It could also detect, if your emotional well-being is off. Like if you're sad, somebody can talk to you. Or if you're starting to have a heart attack, it would let you know. It can also monitor if you're starting to have a nightmare. It can also give you access to information that you normally wouldn't have, like automatically translate a foreign language. But yeah, it could also be used as a remote hold on. Sorry about that. There was a bug, so I took it to the toilet and flushed it. But that being said, unless you're like a computer chip from Elon Musk or something, it's not gonna remotely take over you or, do a Persona 5 mental breakdown sort of thing. Or heck, maybe it could just explode. But, yeah. This girl, I was in shock. She was more delusional than you or me. Well, she sounded logical on the surface, kind of, but it was clearly just a fantasy. It would be very difficult to do such a thing. But it is theoretically possible. People would have been less believing of, the Wright brothers, making a flying plane. But, it exists. Hell, could you imagine? Here's the thing. The person who first suggested the idea of things like bacteria, and this was post-Renaissance times too. They locked him in a mental asylum. Figured he was crazy. I mean, if someone from 2005 went back to 20, if someone from 2005 went back to 1985, they would have been. I mean, it's a difference of 20 years, and yet they would have been called completely insane. Hell, could you imagine telling people, even in the 40s, even in the early 50s, that we had landed on the moon in 1969? Hell, even 10 minutes. Hell, there was probably people during that time that probably thought that was bullshit and it was a lie. Or it was insane. Or hell, the idea of television, let alone color television. Or radios, or cars. Then again, is that a good or bad example given the fact that there's still people that believe that the moon landing never happened? Or the fact there's people that actually think the Earth is flat? So, yeah.
事実、特許を取得した研究チームもその方向へと
In
研
fact,
究
the
内容
team
をシ
that
フト
got
し
the
ている
patent is shifting the research in that
あ
direction.
まりに危険すぎる内容だ
The
と
concept is so dangerous that the
アメリカ大
American
統領が
president
歯止めを
issued
か
an
けようとして
executive order
行
to
政
try
命
to
令を
stop
出
it.
したくらい
How much of what she was saying was actually true? I mean, if it's true, we could just look it up on the internet. Everyone's like, not everything is on the internet is true. True. But at the same time, the internet is the greatest library of information to ever exist. Hell, there's so many great libraries in the past, physical books, that wound up catching fire and getting destroyed, and it was... Oh, that's such a loss. But at the same time, also it's like, hey, what's the internet? Well, the internet is a collection of the largest source of human information and knowledge to ever exist. Some of it could be wrong, because sometimes people are delusional, or they're stupid, or they're biased, or they're purposely lying. That being said, even including all of that, 95% of the information on there is porn. Because even though human beings, like, I'll say this, there's 3 traits that would define a human being. We're really curious, we're very adaptable, and we have the urge to give and receive head pats. That being said, yeah, we're horny. Even the least horny of us is still, you know, a sexual drive, as well as just the desire to be socially accepted, is very huge. Now here's the thing. Yes, things like physical needs of like food, safety, heat, stuff like that's important, right? But here's the thing. In experiments we've done with mice, what's happened is the mice prioritized being social over even food. So, if it's that strong in mice, as well as certain things we've done with mice and monkeys in terms of how they respond to social things, or food, or stimulus, or even chemicals or drugs, if they respond so strongly, then what about a human? And then what if something becomes very pervasive across an entire society that breaks down the way family units work, and the way children are raised, and everyone's sort of antisocial and glued to a computer screen to a bit? And don't get me wrong, I really enjoy anime video games, it's nice. But it's one thing if there's one person that's socially isolated, like I am. It's another thing if someone like me can look out and I can see, to a large degree, it happening in everyone. Because even then, another thing a lot of times with parents, what if both parents in a family are working? Well, who's raising the children? What kind of childhood are they going to have? How is that going to influence when they have kids? Not to mention, okay, what's most of their childhood going to be? Babysitters, daycare, at school, around random friends, or on TikTok watching videos, to where the internet's raising people. And before that, it's like, think Jim Carrey, the cable guy. You know, people would just sit down and watch TV, and the TV was the babysitter. So at the end of the day, you were more raised and your closest friend was a TV. And I made that joke before, hey, my best friend is my television. You pull the plug and he'll die. Don't get me wrong, anytime I've had access to healthy physical interactions with other human beings, I've chosen to pursue that. But that's not really a thing that's readily available, and there are many risks that come with that. And as time goes on, the risks get greater, and any potential rewards basically go away. Besides, again, it's one of those things where you have to be aware of, well, what are the probabilities of things? And eventually you can just measure, okay, probabilities are just so far out of your favor that it's basically zero. But again, all things should be in moderation and thought through clearly. And like I said, sometimes your way of thinking can be flawed. So it's important to try to understand how other people think about things as well. How much of what she was saying was actually true. The order banned any organization researching the secrets of the human body without prior approval from the government. The same goes for providing any such organization support. Santa looked down. She tightly clenched her fists and they rested in her lap. But the world is full of scum. The kind of scum who will ignore ethics of any kind and think nothing of sacrificing others for their own gain. It makes me want to throw up. She put the last of the melting Garugari-kun popsicle into her mouth, then stood up. I stepped back only to find the way back against the wall. Ignorance is a sin. Some people say it's bliss. But they're naive. Doubt the world. Learn how it works. This world isn't perfect. She was walking toward me. So you're trying to say like everyone in this place is like an NPC and you were like, hey, who are you? Like, hey, you're another player character. I feel like the person who made this game like really liked Dot Hack Sign and Sword Art Online. I thought she might punch me and tried to shield myself with my arms, but Santa just walked straight past me. Is what you're seeing truly real? She whispered as she passed me, without so much as a glance my way. And then she left the train. I watched Santa walk away through the train's car window? Standing there in shock. Did you like lean through it or did you like phase through the metal? She disappeared in the crowd without turning around once. In the end, I never did figure out what she was trying to say. The one thing I could tell was that she really hated the world. A completely typical teenager, I guess. From my perspective, having to listen to all that crazy stuff was just a nuisance. The way she spoke made it sound like she was a teacher, giving a lecture. In 2D, the way she talked might be kind of moe, but in the real world, it was just like made her seem like a DQN. But I was glad she didn't attack me. For some reason, she had this air about her like she might slap someone at any time, for any reason. I felt like I needed to rest a moment, so I sat down in the seat where Senna had been sitting a moment ago. A second later, a DQN looking couple came inside. Then soon after then, 3 DQN looking girls came in. Then an old man and a young salaryman in a suit. Before long at all, the car was jammed tight with people. Nobody had tried to come in when Santa and I was here, so why had it suddenly changed? The voices of the girls' DQN couple were annoying me. I whispered "die" several times to myself, silently before leaving. Okay. Why do I only have the one friend if I'm the leader of the fucking guild and known by all these people in this game? Why do I only have the one person? What are the rest of the things on my computer? We have a Miku file. We have a date++, data++. Okay, those are definitely hentai folders. Sound data. Okay, my CDs. Save data. Cocoa chart. Butterfly. Is that an email service? ES Online. Garbage folders. More data. Okay. So yeah, this weird chick. I am what? So yeah, this weird chick was hassling me. You have angered me. What? Listen, Nightheart. You keep saying you're not into 3D chicks, but you seem to be having a whole lot of fun with them. You said one broke inside your house the other day. That's totally out of an H game. You had some luck lately, asshole. Okay, so you're jealous. Okay, listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying. Yes, I'll admit I've had more chances to talk to you girls. But they're all crazy. Let's see how you'd react if they tried their weird fantasy shit on you. It's seriously scary, man. Hello, sorry. It's all good. Even after I made it home, I couldn't get Senna's words out of my mind. Of course, I didn't think it was real. But that part about patents and executive order, I could find if I decided to look up. Yeah, we should also look up all those other things that Shogun sent us. Went to Grim for help, and we started searching the internet. Am I actually an old guy? Am I like 90 years old and I'm in VR, imagining myself as a teenager? Grim knew somebody who lived in the US, so we got their help. Not that I expected to find anything. These days, nobody would believe anything without a source. Oh, I got word from Shiho. Shiho was Grim's net buddy. They lived in the US and spoke fluent English, supposedly. And it was BS, right? That crazy bitch? She probably thought she could fool me because I didn't speak English. Don't underestimate the internet. Glad that's it. They found it, they said. Huh. They found it? They said. Found what? They're translating it for us. I'll up it to you. Another troll? You don't trust me, huh? Well, you have trolled me, man. Well, I guess I can understand why you give me all the shit I pull, though. Want me to bring Shiho here, then? Is it real? Grim had lied to me about all kinds of stuff. Usually when he did something like this, he'd make me look at some disgusting mental browser crash thing. But he even had a source and was saying he'd invite Shiho. If this is a troll, I'm banning you from the guild. Okay, this time you can trust me. He seemed really confident. Maybe this time I could trust him. Damn it. Why am I so gullible? My heart pounded as I clicked on the link, narrowing my eyes so that I wouldn't be able to see it clearly at first. Okay? What is this? It was a paper written in English with a strange diagram at the bottom. There was something in the diagram that looked like a human face. What's that part about a free frontal lobotomy? I'll say this. I understand it was initially created as a medical procedure, but I consider lobotomy worse than murder. The Turing test? That's about AI. The Turing test is about, initially, if you made an AI synthesized voice, not even an AI program. The idea is this: if you can make a synthetic voice with electronics, could you make it so indistinguishable that a human couldn't tell the difference between and would think it's another human? That's the idea, like Uncanny Valley. Uncanny Valley is this: as something becomes more and more human, people become more accepting of it. They like it more. But eventually it gets to a threshold where it's very realistic, but something's off, to where even if you're not consciously aware of it, your brain is at least at a subconscious level, you're aware that there's something wrong with what you're seeing. Now, usually you get past this one of two ways. You either go for extreme realism, which is extraordinarily difficult and requires so much to do because there's so much that the human mind looks for. But you have to make something that's so realistic that a human mind perceives it as real. Or you have to make it stylized or cartoon, hence anime, which means you can see a very realistic picture, but if it's even slightly off, it'll bother somebody. But an anime girl, yeah, you're never going to mistake it as a real person, but the stylized makes it where you can still, your brain can translate in your head what it would look like as a real person, but the whole time you're seeing the anime picture. But it's stylized, look a certain way. Now granted, it can also be made look scary or something, but the idea is that you can make something that is endearing to the human mind. And the human mind's like, oh, that's cute, that's nice, I like that, I accept that. Even though it's obviously not human. And that's a much easier way to go. Because it's easier to go with a stylized approach than a hyper-realistic one. And even that hyper-realistic one still stands a very high chance. Even if you make it in a way that's meant to be very relaxing and soothing to a human, it still has that chance of triggering a fear response. Now, idea, why is the fear response simple? I mean, if we look at it from a horror movie standpoint of being supernatural and shit, the idea is that if human beings have a shared fear of things that are somewhat tall, have elongated faces, overly large eyes and mouths, and the dark eyes, and different shapes of ears, it begs that there's an ancestral shared memory where human beings were having to be afraid of such a thing, that such things existed, that all human beings had to be afraid of. Or it could just be that these characteristics are reminiscent of predators, like large cats or reptiles, or things, or dangerous fish. Basically, these are features that we see in things that would normally try to hurt and kill us. After all, a large reason why human beings have a fear of, say, certain insects is because usually they're associated with, a disease or an illness. Like usually some bugs exist in a place where a certain bacteria exists that will make you sick. So over time, the genetic memory teaches you, hey, be fearful of this because if you eat something around this type of bug, it'll make you sick and kill you. In the same regard, other bugs can bite you and poison you. But the idea is this. The uncanny valley also could trigger thoughts of something being dead. Like if something looks human but isn't quite, it could trigger the response of you seeing a dead body. Because a dead body is a human form, but it's obviously not alive. Uncanny valley could also be tied to supernatural things. The idea of whether it's ghosts, angels, demons, aliens, fae, fairies, elves, however you want to look at it, whether we're looking at it from a religious standpoint of any human being across all religions, or even from an alien standpoint, or even if you're an atheist, you could believe in some sort of supernatural being. There's also the idea that if you believe that the world is a simulation like the Matrix sort of thing, then the idea is that if somebody is uncanny valley, then it's either your body's detecting a glitch, or the person that you're seeing is not a normal part of the program, or there's something. The main point is the uncanny valley is people react badly to that because it's a self-defense mechanism. It's some part of the brain is noticing there is something off about this to where it looks human, but isn't. So it's telling you, hey, whatever this is, isn't a person, and is trying to pretend to be a person, which means they are trying to deceive you. And usually someone's trying to deceive you, it means they're trying to hurt you. Then again, the same thing's true even if you ignore anything supernatural or technological or anything like that. The idea that if you go to, say, a store or something, and somebody behaves in a very weird way, you might start noticing certain things off with them. And you're like, well, it's not supernatural, what else could it be? Maybe they're on some sort of drug. Maybe they're about to rob the place. Maybe they're about to become violent. Maybe there's something else to see. Now, of course, in many situations, that's unlikely to occur. Realistically, in most places in the world, if you go places, most people aren't going to even notice you. And most people are very self-conscious and preoccupied with their own lives and their own problems too much that for them to even care about anybody else. Also, there is the fact that yes, mental health issues are drastically increasing across the board in every part of the world. But it's also true that, say there's many people out there that have conditions like, say, whether it's a borderline personality disorder or schizophrenia or some sort of form of psychosis. There's actually a lot of people that are like that, but for the most part, I would say this. I can't remember the actual statistic, but I would say it's only a few people in every 100 at most that have any kind. But even then, even the people that have very extreme forms of psychosis or schizophrenia or a mental health issue, I would say 99% of those people are extremely non-violent. They're actually very nice people, and they're people that would never hurt anybody. And most of these people can actually live perfectly normal lives, and for the most part, you would never notice. But I would guess that's another reason just to be nice to people in general, because you never know, one, what somebody's thinking, or what they're going through, or what personal problems they've been having. But also, you don't know, other issues they might be having. But like I said, for the most part, I would say with people that do have, schizophrenia or borderline personality disorder or stuff like that, I would say 99% of them are extremely non-violent people who would never hurt anybody and are just trying to live a peaceful life. It's just that very small percentage of people that would do anything to hurt anybody do definitely make the news. But again, I would say that there's far more violent people that are not mental illness than the ones that are. Like, yes, there is a lot of people that have mental illness, but I would say 99% of people with mental illness are not a threat to anyone. They're just perhaps a bit awkward, but they would never hurt anyone. That being said, I would say, if anything, I would say most of the people out there in this world that are violent and do hurt people, I don't think they would have schizophrenia or borderline personality disorder. Or at least the delusional psychosis they wouldn't have. Because like I said, most of the people that would have such conditions as those are non-violent. I'd say most of the people that are violent would be people that don't have emotional issues, but rather have a lack of empathy and just are people that would enjoy hurting people or see it very opportunistically. But I would say most people with the emotional issue of, either a delusion or a schizophrenic thing or a personality issue, most of those people would never hurt a fly. Most of those people just want to live a normal life and would never want to hurt anybody. But yeah, the Turing test is the ability for, and granted it's evolved since then, but originally it was just the idea of how well can you make, I need to drink water. How well can you make a voice that's fully synthetic and make it sound like a person? And not just like a transfer of electronic signals of a real human voice being recalibrated like through a phone. Or even like how my voice is right now on OBS. I'm talking about a fully synthetic sound that was never a human voice to begin with. Then again, that's also used for certain things for prosthetics for humans, because there are some humans who have damaged tracheas and parts of their vocal cords where they're not able to talk. I mean, think Stephen Hawking, but, think if you could give him a cute anime girl voice. I feel Stephen Hawking would be a bit insulted at that. But then again, if he had that option over his, robot voice that he had, I'm sure he would have taken it. But yeah. What is this? There's a fucking diagram we're looking at, the blueprints of how the Elon Musk brain chip would work. Like where they would put it in your brain to control you. Elon Musk is like, stop fucking with me. I'm like, I'm not insulting you, man. Besides, you would never do that, right? You would never abuse that kind of technology, right? Elon Musk is an ethical man, right? But the Turing test. It's the idea of, can you make a voice that tricks a human? But it's evolved. Another thing is this. Can you make a picture that looks real to a person? For example, could you make a video? Because we have AIs that do it now. The idea is this. Can you make a deep fake say Morgan Freeman, and make people think it's real, make it think it's actually him? Could you make a fake video of a real life stuff that's completely digitized and have people think they're looking at the real world? Could you make holograms so real that a person can't tell the difference? Could you make somebody feel certain things? Could you make a mannequin so real that it looks like a real person? Could you make it be able to move? Could you make a fully functioning robot that can move around so well that it actually, a human can't even tell the difference that it's not also a human in terms of physical movements? Because they're saying, if you look at certain robots, you can see, okay, you can see the way the legs are moving, the way the joints are moving, the way the facial structure is, the way the emotions are expressed, that something is wrong. The way you look at the eyes, that something is wrong. The voice. And again, there's also the idea of pheromones. Now again, I don't know how that actually works, but then there's the idea of, do you feel heat from it? Does it feel soft? Does it release pheromones? Does it smell a certain way? And even then, if it's able to communicate, even if you make a realistic voice, can you make a AI program that is able to communicate with a human in real time, that is able to carry on a conversation and communicate in a way that the human thinks that he is talking to another human, that he can't tell that it's artificial? Can you have a picture of a person in front of you that's so realistic that you can't tell it's not a person? That it's just being an image generated by a bunch of ones and zeros. That's not even being translated from it's not like it's a live stream of another actual person being broadcast to you and translated in electronics. It's an issue of there's no person on the other side of the screen at all. It's just being entirely ones and zeros. The idea is this. The Turing test is this. How easily can you trick a human being into thinking what they see is real? Into thinking that the voice is an actual person? Into thinking the image is an actual person? Into thinking what you're showing them is real and actually exists? That being said, it's definitely come a long way since, the 60s? It said United States patent, so it was true. In other words, this was an American patent.
VR 技術を知っているか?
Do you know about VR technology?
すでに実際にテストは
They've
成功してい
already
る.
succeeded in tests. One research team already has a patent. It was real. I opened one of the 2 text files that were attached with it. It was a Japanese translation of an article talking about the patent. The Victor Condria University Psychophysiology Lab is currently working on a revolutionary technology called visual rebuilding. The technology is intended for the field of therapeutics and is being eagerly followed by blind people all over the world. Also, my ears kind of hurt. The headset's kind of putting some pressure there. This revolutionary invention would allow the blind to see with the aid of a visual device such as a camera. And that's awesome. I think that's really great. I mean, I don't want blind people to be blind. I mean, honestly, I think it's fucking shitty. I understand the idea, God stays out of things. That way human beings can develop more. And, it'd be like you did everything for somebody they would never learn. But here's the thing. Regardless of it helping human evolution or not, what's the point in things like war and murder and rape, torture and violence and stuff like that, or the people that are on such extreme drugs? I mean, how many people out there are on heroin or meth or stuff like that? I mean, at the end of the day, what's going to happen to those people? And again, I'm not some sort of saint. I don't really care. I'm not trying to say, I care about people. I don't. I'm a selfish bastard. I don't care. At the end of the day, I care more about the philosophical concept of it, of the argument of what's the point of that? What's the purpose of all these people being, basically their lives ruined? What does that accomplish? What good could possibly come of, thousands and thousands of people having their lives ruined? What good is if there are the wars that occur? And yes, I agree, yes, while I am a pacifist in terms, there are times where you do need to fight, whether it's someone breaking your house, someone trying to hurt somebody, someone trying to hurt you, or in certain wars you do have to fight. But again, it should be always a last resort. It shouldn't be treated as like, oh, it's always just an option to do it any time. No, it should be the last resort. And again, like somebody's hurting people, yes, you need to do something. But at the end of the day, it just seems like everyone wants to jump on it immediately. And like, here's the thing. Like, again, we used the example before about the Android 16, Gohan, Cell. Honestly, I think there was nothing wrong with Gohan at least trying to talk Cell down first. You know? He should at least have made that plea to Cell, like, hey. But when Cell didn't take him up on the offer, he should have then fought to the best of his ability, even if he felt that he couldn't win. He should have fought to the best of his ability, especially since he was the strongest person there, to try to win. And to try to kill Cell. But yeah, there's definitely nothing wrong. In fact, it was a good thing for Gohan to at least extend that offer. But after that first minute of talking to Cell and at least trying to reason with him, if Cell is one, not only turning it down, but also being outright aggressive in the intention that he's going to keep hurting people, well, then Gohan should actually fight to kill at that point. And at that point, Cell is like, eaten like a million people, and is planning to blow up the planet. So it's like, yeah, I pushed a button. The revolution eventually would allow the blind to see the initial device without a camera. But yeah, it's just like there has to be a bit of control about things. Like at the end of the day, like here's the thing, nobody's the same. People have violent thoughts. But the idea is this. One, you need to be able to have control of yourself. But also there are times where there is a time to be angry. But in the words of Odysseus, not only in the movie but also in the old poems, granted I have to paraphrase because I can't remember words verbatim, but the idea is this: it's easy to be angry, but it's better to be angry at the right person, at the right time, at the right place, and for the right reason. And to do that is hard. To know when to do that. Because there are times where you do need, to fight. But, I don't know, I feel like, in general, a lot of people kind of jump the gun on that. And again, I'm the kind of person, like, I prefer to be polite and courteous because I dislike being rude. It's just I don't like it. But, yeah, it's just, trying to understand what is right and what is wrong. So because, well, I do have an obsessive personality. Like I said, I have an obsessive and addictive personality. To explain in basic terms how it works, the electronic signals generated by the video camera are transformed into nerve impulses, the one form of electrical signal that the brain can read. These signals are transmitted to optic nerves, and through them to the brain. Tests have been successful, and a patent was issued. The patent? It's real. What Santa had been saying wasn't just some silly fantasy then. I gulped and clicked on the other file. Official order issued by the White House, 1997. That's like 20 years ago? Protections. So this shit's been out for a while. Strengthening protections of research into the secrets of the human body. No organization may do any research in the secrets of the human body without informed consent or support of any other organization that conducts any. This order will go into effect on 1998 or earlier if appropriate legislation passes. William J. Clinton, President of the United States. An executive order from the President of the United States. Honestly, this could be real. Probably. We do have stuff trying to help people the ability to see, but I don't know if actual real-world Bill Clinton ever signed such a thing. It's like something you see in the backstory of the movie, but it was real. I clicked on the link too, just to be sure I could read the English, even if I could speak it. I was a lot smarter than the kids that went to school every day after all. The actual text was more or less the same as the translation I'd been given. Which means, Santa's words echoed in my mind.
ある意図的な
If
情
it
報
were possible
神
to
経
convert
パ
a
ルスへコン
certain
バートすること
deliberately
が可
chosen
能なら
information pattern into a nerve impulses,
人の五感すべて
you
さ
would
ら
be
には
able to
人の意
control
志その
all
ものも
five
コン
of
ト
a
ロール
person's
できるんじゃ
senses,
ないか
and in fact, their will itself. This whole thing was getting kind of complicated, but knowing what Santa said, and that there was a source online to back it up, made my skin crawl. It felt like there was some kind of terrible secret involved with all this. And what worried me more than anything else was the fact that Santa had chosen to tell me this. Did it have something to do with me? The idea of controlling another person's will seemed to, at least, I still hadn't ruled out the possibility that I was sleepwalking. Supposedly the day the third new gen incident, Crucified, happened, I have been using the account Shogun to chat at Cafe. This also kind of reminds me of, was it the Mew Mew Kissy Cutie anime story that Alfie's out of Undertale likes? And I didn't remember Remy at all either. I'd supposedly spent over a year with her as a classmate and even gone to hang out a few times, but I didn't remember her at all. Maybe I'd done all that while someone was controlling me. After all, there was no way a guy like me, who could barely talk to 30 girls, could be friends with a cute girl like Remy. No, I was overthinking it. The thing with the chat, at least, was a delusion of Yua's. Shogun was someone else, and just trying to set me up. I wasn't sure if he actually was the old man in the wheelchair I had seen in front of the 107 building, but it doesn't matter. It was even possible that Santa was working with Shogun too. Maybe she was trying to trick me. I couldn't believe what she was saying. I didn't know anything about her, and I couldn't trust her. Santa was no different than Yua. That's what I was said I should be thinking, right, Saradon? Hello? Hello? The only sound in the room was that of fingers on keys. Yua Kusanoki's thin, slender fingers were dancing on the keyboard. Her gaze locked on the monitor. She was typing without looking at the keyboard, with barely any spelling errors. Well, that's really impressive. Good for you. She was writing an email. A long one, too. She spent 30 minutes already thinking about what to write, and then going back and changing it. Suddenly, her fingers stopped. She let out a sigh and suddenly pressed down hard on the backspace key. The cursor of the screen began to scroll quickly towards the left. Everything she written vanished in a flash as it went. Okay. When it was all gone, Yua brought her Jiro frog plush from her bed and gave it a quick squeeze. It was a habit of hers lately. If she wasn't holding something tightly, the fear would overtake her. Okay? That's a sigh. That's what a fucking normal human sigh is supposed to sound like. She pressed her head down in the stuffed animal. Yay. Yes, I am an adult. And I'm a guy. And I like stuffed animals, okay? I will never not like stuffed animals. Sighed a little.
私に
Give
勇
me
気をくだ
courage.
さい。
She whispered to no one in particular, then pursed her lips. She put the stuffed animal on her lap and put her hands back on the keyboard. Letters began to appear on the screen once more, one by one, as her slender fingers typed. Are you sending me an email? The message was, compared to the one she just deleted, simple and short. When she was done, she hesitated a moment before clicking send. Are you sending it to me? Well,
送っちゃった。
I sent it. The email was sent on its way before you had a chance to change your mind. She held the froggy on her lap tightly, and stared at the monitor for over an hour. She hadn't expected an answer, of course, but there was no sign that one was coming. Room 37 was the same as always. I sunk down into my reclining seat and bit my nails in an attempt to calm my irritation. There was a reason I'd come to that cafe 2 days in a row, both yesterday and again today. That night 2 days ago, after I'd found out that grim Santa's story was true, I'd gotten an email from Yua. It was ridiculously enough a request to talk to me again. Screw you was what I wanted to say. My nose is kind of stuffy. Let me blow my nose. Ow. Ow. Ow, my left ear is starting to hurt from the headset. And no, I'm not being emotional about anything. It's just my nose is stuffy. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's like allergies with the changing weather. Why would I want to talk to you after you lied to me? I don't have anything to talk to you about anyway. Obviously, this is just part of some new trap. I'm not going to waste time talking to you. Sure, I wasn't used to talking girl. That's why I'd gotten so excited when you had tried to be friendly with me. But behind my back, she thought I was an idiot. And then there was a weird delusion of hers. Sure, I had delusions myself, but I didn't bother the people with them. But her, that crazy Bridget practically called me the new-gen killer. I'd never forgive her. I decided to just ignore it, but there was one problem. The email said she'd come visit the base. She knew where it was, so if she wanted to, she could. That's why I'd come here, to that cafe, even though it wasn't a school day. I wanted to take the D-sword with me for protection, but unlike Sena, I lacked the courage to carry that thing through Center Street. Spending almost half a day in that cafe was kind of exhausting, though. The reclining seat was comfy, and there was even a shower in this place, but it wasn't as relaxing as the base. The biggest problem of all was Seratin wasn't here. After 2 days holding at cafe, I'd come to realize how much she meant to me. I wanted to go home now, but I decided to stay here until midnight at least. But then the trains would stop running, and even Yua wouldn't be able to stay out that late. It would be another 4 hours until midnight. If I played ESO, that time would fly, but... I looked over at the monitor. My second care, Liz Lote, was standing there doing nothing.
お前の見ている景色は本物か?
Is what you're seeing truly real? Am I doing a meta thing? Like we're talking about like the character, like that's avatar of a person. She once said for half what she said was true. One thing I had been able to find was a source for what the stuff controlling people's will or their bodies. Maybe that was just part of Sarah's illusion. Mixing a little lie with truth, sometimes like that Black Mothers do, wanted to make thread self dead because it worked. I mean, theoretically, it works. Like, you could do that, but it would be an extremely complicated thing. I knew that, at least in my head. But after all, the strange things that have happened to me over the past few weeks, I still couldn't help but feel scared. I stared at Liz Lote on the screen. Liz Lote.
お前の見ている景色は
Is what you're seeing real? I whispered so that nobody around me could hear. I'd thought about something similar a bunch of times. Baselard Liz Lote's world. The world that I was looking at right now was real to her, but to me it was fake, which meant that the person controlling me was seeing my world, and it was fake too. But just as Liz Lote couldn't see her controller because he was in a higher dimension, I couldn't see the person controlling me either. Does Liz Lote ever think about things like this? She couldn't even move unless I told her to. So what about me? Could I even get out of this reclining seat if the person controlling me didn't want me to? I tried to stand just to see if I could. I succeeded easily. Then I tried sitting down. I did it without difficulty. Was what I just did done of my own will? Or was the person controlling me telling me what to do? I didn't have any way to tell. Huh? Heard the sound of a door. To my booth opening. I sensed somebody came in. I turned around. I've been trying to avoid you! It was Yua Kusunoki. Damn it! I've been trying to, not see you. But, I mean, yeah, I already knew that you knew I was here, so, I mean, if I went out at the base, where else would I be? And it makes sense you're kind of annoyed. I mean, I didn't respond, and you couldn't find me at the place. You've probably been there several times. You probably waited for me. So I kind of ruined your whole weekend. So, yeah, you're kind of annoyed. See, it was good. I was scared. I was so scared I tried to scream. And you did come in all of a sudden. It startled me. But Yua put her hand on my mouth. Her hand was warm and the scent of her sweat hit my nostrils. Be quiet. Don't make any noise. Promise me you won't. You'll promise, right? You won't tell me you're not going to promise, right? Promise me. You'll promise, right? You will? Please. Okay. Definitely the rhythm of her speaking is much different than when she's like by herself. The booth was tiny, you to block my only exit. Next thing I knew, she'd pinned my shoulders with incredible strength. I couldn't get up from the seat. I mean, that's the point of leverage. I mean, she's standing. Her cold gaze pierced me from point-blank range. I looked away, unable to bear her gaze, and saw the 3 drove rockets on her shoulder back. Okay?
声を
Don't
出さないで
make a noise. What do I do? What should I do? I tried desperately to come up with a way to escape from this situation, but it didn't work. I couldn't think clearly. I'd been coldly off guard, and my mind was going blank.
あなたの家に行ったんですけど、いませんでしたよね。
I went to your home yesterday, but you weren't there, were you?
夜まで
I waited until way late,
待ってた
but
ん
you
で
never
すけ
came
ど。
home.
うん。
No.
でも、
I can
私を
understand
避けようとする
why
西条くんの気持ちは
you'd want to
よく
avoid me.
わかります。
Okay, at least you're aware of it.
私、西条くんのことを騙して
I
た
know I
わけ
lied
です
to you. Then just leave me alone. I had nothing to say to one of Shogun's servants, particularly the sort of awful person who tried to trick and trap someone as helpless as me. You would cast your gaze downward for a moment, as if hesitating, and then she
そ
whispered,
の目、誰の
Whose eyes are those?
知って
You
ますよ
know
ね。
that phrase, right?
知らないなんて言
I
わ
won't
せま
let
せん
you。say you don't.
ヴァンパイアのダイイングメ
The
ッ
dying
セージ
message of the vampires.
ネットで公表
It
され
became,
たこと
was that a
世界
saxophone?
で大流行中
It
で
became a
すけど
famous catchphrase after the internet found out.
でも私
But I knew that
流行
phrase
る前から
before the murder
ヴァンパイアより前に
because I'd seen
この
somebody
言葉を
using it
使
before.
っている人が
Vampire.
将軍
Shogun.
前に見せましたよ
I
ね
showed you before, didn't
ナ
I?
イトハルト
Shogun's conversation with
西条
Nightheart.
君と将
That
軍の
is
チャ
you.
ットログそこで
Shogun
将軍が
had
書き
said
込ん
it.
でましたその目誰
Whose
の
eyes are those? It was in the log.
そして
And she got closer. Her voice was calm and peaceful. There was something cold, piercing, cold, and light in her eyes. I mean, honestly, she thinks that we're the killer. So it makes sense that she's a little bit on edge. She was staring at me, unblinking. I looked away. Is that gonna hurt? I just saw a blink. But you're gonna need some like Visine or something.
将軍は
Shogun is you. No, I saw an old guy in a wheelchair. So, I'm not an old guy in a wheelchair.
つまり
Which means what? Are you crying?
お願いです西条君
Please? Nishijo? Okay, what? Suddenly I realized her hands were shaking? Or was my shaking just being transferred to her hands? Then she said something I couldn't believe.
人を殺すの
Please
やめてください
stop killing people. One, I'm not. Two, how would I have done any of the things? How would I have... any of them? One, even if it's just the 10 stakes. Yes, it's more reasonable like 500, but still. How would I have... pinned a dude to a wall? How would I have... did the green thing to the one guy? How would that have happened? Also, how would I have put a person inside of a person? Or apparently 5 people, I had them jump off a skyscraper. How would I have done that? I mean, even assuming if I am the killer person, logistically, how would I have pulled that off? And like, I don't have the key to that place. How would I even get it? And even then, wouldn't my fingerprints be everywhere? Like, it's not physically possible. It's like saying, Shinjuku, man. Nishijo. They'd be like, Nishijo, could you please stop stealing the Eiffel Tower? Like, the Eiffel Tower, we think you stole it. Like, but how would I do that? What?
人を殺すのはやめてください自覚が
Yeah.
ないんですね
You don't know you're doing it, do you? You don't know you're doing it, do you? Again, I'm not. But 2, why does that computer kind of look like an Xbox? But 2, even if I were, I do not have the means to do the things in the murders. They are beyond my capacity to do. How would I have, like the dude in the, like how would I have drained the blood from the dude? Why is he green? How would I have put him in there and not been caught on a camera or covered in blood? It's not physically possible for me to be doing the things you accuse me of doing.
でもそれも私には理解でき
But
ま
I
す
can understand that too.
西条君に自覚があるはずないから
There's no way you could. Okay, I'm confused. What was she saying? Yeah, I don't know. You have... There was a sadness in her eyes. You have hunger? I mean, I kind of want to get Little Caesars. Is that what you're saying? I don't have a Pepsi. She was staring straight at me, but suddenly her gaze turned.
DID
You have
多重人
DID,
格なんです
dissociative identity disorder, multiple personalities. No, because 1, if it did, I'd be aware of that. 2, regardless of that or not, I can't lift a person up and nail them to a fucking concrete wall. How would I have even done that? What, do I have a bunch of like pulleys somewhere where I'm like lift someone up like ropes? Like I'm like Ernest, you know, Jim Varney, like making little, ooh, look at my little goofy contraption. I use a paint can here. Like I'm fucking Macaulay Culkin. I had multiple personalities. Again, I saw
最初は
Shogun.
あなたのこと
At first, I was
警
going to
察
turn
に
you
突き
over
出すつもりで
to
し
the
た
police. Well, at least your eyes aren't doing the little pinpoint thing you were doing earlier. This feels more comfortable. Even though it's less realistic, this is... I don't know. She kept talking despite my
それ
confusion.
が無理なら
And if I couldn't, I was going to kill you with
と
my
も
own
思ってま
hands.
した
Well, I would appreciate you not doing that. I may have depression, but I don't want to actually die. I just, want to feel better. That's it.
だけど
But
あ
the
なた
more
の
I
こと
found
調
out
べてい
about
く
you,
うちにあなたも苦しんでるんだ
the
っ
more I
て分かっ
realized
て
you were suffering too. Her eyes were looking into mine again. They were pleading with me. In the way it seemed like she was really worried about me. Again, I have to say that the person who did the composition of this, I mean, the voice acting is amazing too. And I do like the designs and art styles of everything. Backgrounds, characters, and the story is very intriguing. But the biggest thing is this. The music. And the sound effects and ambience are good too. But the soundtrack to this game, I might have to see if I can buy the soundtrack again. The music is fucking awesome. The music is really good. Like, oh wait, did I read it? In the way it seemed like she was really worried about me. But are you though? Are you? Are you really? It made me shiver.
私
I want to
あ
save
な
you.
たを助けたい
Her delusions were getting out of control. Nothing she said made any sense. Wait, really? Did it really not make sense?
だから
Let's go to a
病院に行きま
hospital.
しょう
I already went to the hospital. Which they have not called me back. It's been a while. Weren't they supposed to call me back? Let's go to a hospital. I didn't understand myself. I'd used the nickname Shogun in chat without even knowing it. I was friends with a girl named Rimi without having any memories of her. Maybe I was sleepwalking. Maybe there was some being from a higher dimension controlling me. Maybe the person controlling me was in fact inside my mind the whole time. Is there a difference? A me who wasn't me. Another personality who wasn't me. Multiple personalities. My head ached. There was a painful stinging in my temples. This was impossible. It couldn't be true. I wasn't going to believe it. It was just an illusion of Yua's. She was my enemy. She was getting in my way. She was trying to trap me. She was trying to destroy my mind. And the hospital was under Shogun's influence, too. The one person I could trust, Dr. Takashina had disappeared so suddenly that I knew something must have happened to him. I mean, we can see if he's back. Shogun must have killed him. And if I did what Yua said, I'd be killed too. There was no way I was going to believe this one. I don't believe her, 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 I don't believe her. My brain shut down. I pushed her as hard as I could. Kya! She fell back into the wooden partition door and collapsed to the ground, but we did kind of push her kind of hard. Finally, free from her grip, I grabbed my bag and stepped over her into the corridor. Wait! She grabbed my ankle, still crouched on the ground. Her hair was a mess, her glasses had slid down her nose. She was clinging to me as hard as she could. I was so scared I let out a miserable scream. She was my enemy. She was working with Shogun. I wouldn't let her fool me. I wouldn't let her fool me again. Don't touch me. I screamed and she let go. I ran while I had the chance. I slammed down a 5,000 yen bill from my wallet on the counter in front of the astonished clerk. Then I ran to the elevator outside without even waiting for him to change. When I hit the ground floor, I dashed outside. The sun had already set. I looked around. There were so many people around. Run. I just had to run. It was too dangerous to go back to the base. She'd follow me there. I started to run without even knowing where I should go. The thought of Yua coming out of the other elevator any second now and threatening me with her cold voice made me feel like I needed to get out of there as soon as possible. I mean, we could go back to our parents, right? Is that an option? I don't understand why you live in a container on a building. I ran, stopping again to look behind me. The other pedestrians kept getting in my way. I slammed into salarymen and DQ-looking high school girls. Each time, they'd curse at me. But I ignored them and kept running. Gwa, haha, gwa. It hurt to breathe. I chose my path randomly, so I didn't even know where I was. I stopped to catch my breath, and I looked around at my surroundings. I was in front of the Maruchi building. I was close enough to Miyashita Park that I could escape there. I'd rest a little, then keep running. If I could get to Yogi Park, there'd be a number of places to hide. Maybe I could spend the night there. I could stop worrying about whether Yua was following her. I couldn't see her anymore. But she might show up any second with that placid, emotionless face of her. My instincts drove me forward. Run. When I made it to the bridge at Miyashita Park, I flopped right down on the ground. I'd run so much my throat was parched, I wanted ice-cold soda. But I didn't see any vending machines nearby. Maybe I'd run enough that I was safe now. No, I couldn't be sure. I kept a careful eye on my surroundings. I assumed Miyashita Park would be pretty empty at night, but that didn't seem to be the case. I saw a salaryman walking quickly through the park, taking a shortcut on his way home, and an older man sitting on a bench playing with a cell phone. A group of homeless men were sitting together, and a man in blue was talking to them. A policeman. The police. I gulped. Those two policemen had talked to me before, hadn't they? I hadn't heard anything from them. They said they'd sent someone to watch the area around the base, but nothing had come of it. Misumi had said they'd come to the school, though. What were their names again? I couldn't remember. I told them exactly what I'd seen during the crucifighting, but looking back, some of their expression made it clear they were pretty suspicious. Suddenly, the police officer standing by the homeless man looked over at me, or at least it felt like they did. No way. I was overthinking it, I told myself, but still, I looked carefully at what the policeman was doing. Maybe I made it too obvious, though, because of the time he looked straight at me. I looked away at first. There was no way I could win a staring contest with the cop. Had the policeman been looking at me? Was he just staring at me because I was staring at him? Which was it? I couldn't tell. It could have been either. I waited a little, then looked back at the policeman once more. He was still staring at me, so I had no choice but to quickly look away. Crap. This time I totally looked suspicious. Yua was already after me. I couldn't have the cops after me, too. I had to get through this somehow. I wiped off the cold sweat off my forehead. Then I took out a textbook in my bag and sat there on the ground and pretended to read it as I watched the policeman. He took out something black that might have been a police radio and started speaking into it. He seemed to be reporting something, but the bridge I was sitting on, over at Meiji Street, and the sound of the cars below made it to hear what he was saying. This was bad, I was sure. I needed to get out of here, but it was too late. Trying anything stupid was suicide. Since I had chosen to pretend I was reading a book, I needed to keep it up for a while or else I'd look suspicious. I needed to at least keep it up until the policeman stopped looking at me. And then, someone ran into the park and right into the policeman. As I watched out of the corner of my eye, I couldn't believe it, what I was seeing. Yua! What? Why did she have to find me now? How? How would you find me? How would you know I was here? Cold sweat beaded not just my forehead, but my whole body. This was bad. This was extremely bad. Yua didn't seem to have noticed me yet, so I prayed she just had passed me by. But I wasn't going to be that lucky. The policeman was staring at me right now, after all. Then when Yua spoke to him, he noticed me immediately. I grunted, threw my textbook in the bag, and got ready to get up off the ground. I was ready to run at any time. The two of them had a short conversation, then looked at me. Don't look at me. Yua pointed in my direction. She was explaining something to the officer. That bitch, damn her. I was a peaceful guy, but I was about ready to snap. She turned me over to the police, and what she told them was an insane delusion she'd come up with in her head that I was the new gen killer. Maybe she'd be satisfied now, but what about me? How was I supposed to deal with the false accusation? But of course, nobody heard my internal scream. The police officer began to head toward me at a fast pace. I stood up. Shit. She trapped me. She was trying to destroy me. What do I do? What do I do? Should I try talking to the policeman? Should I tell him that was all a delusion of hers? I didn't do anything. I'm innocent. I'm an upstanding citizen. No way. There's no way that would work. In our society, there was no doubt about who the cop would believe between a creepy otaku like me or a normal-looking teenage girl like Yua. He probably wouldn't even give me a chance to talk. I had to get out of there. By the time the thought entered my brain, I had already turned around and started running. I crossed the bridge and headed down the stairs toward Meiji Street. When I looked back, I could see the policeman chasing me. And what was weirder, even the man on the bench and one of the homeless people were now chasing after me, too. What? No way. Did you have the cops on her side the whole time? Why is the homeless person chasing me? Was Miyashita filled with plainclothes detectives? I didn't know what to do. I felt pure shock. It was so unfair that I almost ready to cry. I didn't do anything. I did nothing. The cops were believing her lies. This wasn't fair. But why is the homeless person chasing me? I wiped away my tears and ran down the stairs. Be careful, we're going to fall down the stairs, man. I headed as fast as I could down the Meiji Street toward the station. I ran through the underpass and up the stairs to the pedestrian bridge. People kept getting in my way and blocking me. I started to wonder if they were doing it deliberately. Everybody started looking like a detective. I was on the verge of panic. I looked back and saw somebody chasing me. I got a glimpse of them moving through the crowds just like I was. It was one of the people I'd seen at the park. I couldn't tell which. But then they were chasing me. I shuddered. If they caught me here, my life was over. I'd be given the death penalty for a crime I didn't commit and put in jail for decades. I'd endure living hell for years, and then they'd say, okay, it's time for you to die. Please, no, I couldn't handle that. I didn't want that to be my life. Even if I was found innocent in the end, once you're branded a criminal, that didn't disappear. Nobody would ever trust me again. Please, no, I didn't do anything. I ducked into a small side alley and kept running as fast as I could. But since I had been running ever since I left the cafe, I quickly ran out of breath. My lungs were desperate for oxygen, and my legs could barely move from exhaustion. I regretted not exercising more, but it was far too late for that now. Finally, I stopped, leaning forward with my hands on my knees, panting. I couldn't run away anymore. I was in a place I recognized. The distinctive red brick exterior, the big lit up sign reading Gigantes. I'd come here once with Misumi. Back then, I'd come to see Phantasm concert. More specifically, its lead singer, Fez. Now it was quiet and seemingly empty. Only the feeble light of a single vending machine illuminated the front of the building. I glanced back at the path I'd come from, annoyed that my breathing wasn't going back to normal. It was dark and narrow alley. The Tokyo Lines train passed right above me. The light streaming from the car windows, shining bright against the night. But even that light failed to reach the darkness just beneath it. I squinted into the night. Had I ditched the police and Yua? It was too dark to see. Follow me. Heard a voice right next to my ear, and let out a pathetic scream as I fell back. You did kind of startle me there, Fez. It was Fez. She was dressed in an elaborate outfit she wore for her concerts. As she quietly stood above me in the darkness, there was a sense of fragility about her that hadn't been there when I saw her on the stage. It was too dark to guess at the look on her face. As I sat there, too shocked to move, Fez offered me a hand. Stand up, quickly. Her voice was calm, but there was power in it. She slowly turned her head, her hands still stretched out toward me, as if to see whatever was beyond the darkness. We need to run. I am out of breath. How? Did she know I was being chased by you and the police? For a moment, I was cautious. But right now, I had no choice but to trust her. Wait, Is it not Yua now? Is it like Agent Smith out of the Matrix sort of thing? Is it like they looks like the police officer, but it's not? I had no choice but to trust her. I grabbed it and clung tightly. For a moment I was cautious, but right now I had no choice but to trust her. I grabbed it and clung tightly. Her hand was cold. As I stood, she started to run. The outfit's also starting to grow on me. I'm starting to like it more and more. I was angry because of how exhausted I was, but if it weren't for Fez, I might have stayed there until the police got me. I wanted some water, but I knew there wasn't time. Fez kept pulling me onward. We went down narrow alleys, turning at one intersection after another. I no longer had any idea where I was going. I barely knew the layout of Shibuya anyway. At this point, I just have to keep following Fez. Part of me thought for a minute that this might be a trap of Shogun's, but I brushed the thought away. Even if Fez was working for Shogun, there was nothing I could do at this point. My leg muscles were filled with lactic acid, and all of the running must have kept my brain from getting enough oxygen, because I felt like I was on the verge of passing out. I had to stop myself from telling Fez that I couldn't run anymore. Actually, I might have said it a bunch of times without realizing it, but Fez just kept running, without even looking back at me once. The next thing I knew, we were on a path directly beneath the highway. We were close to Shibuya Station, but there weren't many people here at all. Fez headed down a stairwell that led into darkness. It felt like she knew exactly where she was going. When we got there, to the very bottom of the stairs, she finally stopped. I let go of her hand and grabbed on the stairwell's handrail, panting for breath. How much running had I done today? I wasn't sure if I'd ever exercised so much in my life. You are also out of breath. Thank you, but we're gonna take a moment to get some air. For a while, the only sounds in the dark in the underground corridor were the sounds of our breathing. I looked up at the stairwell's entrance. Nobody had followed us. Had we gotten away? That said, I'd never seen this little underground corridor before. It was close to the station, but there was nobody here. One of the lights illuminating the tunnel was on the verge of burning out. And was constantly flashing on and off. There was a faint smell of rotting garbage. The place seemed to symbolize the underground side of Shibuya. If somebody attacked you here, you could scream, but nobody would notice. It wasn't a place I'd want to come to alone. Still panting for breath, I looked over at Fez. Can I do anything with these? No? Okay. This was the underground indie singer who was beloved by all, the youth of Shibuya, the one they even called a prophet. And here she was with a creepy otaku like me. It felt kind of weird. Yeah, it is. Beads of sweat had formed on her forehead. She had exhausted herself. So, I guess neither of us gets enough exercise. Running in rivulets down her face, she was wiping them away with the back of her hand. I wonder if we have a water bottle. I could see part of her bare chest inside her open jacket, peeking out above the camisole. I don't think I've ever seen that word before. She wore. It was heaving up and down with each breath she took. For all that, her languid demeanor, there was something about her body that felt very sexy and alive. It wasn't really moe, it was sexy. Probably was the best word for it. Oh, that's a better look at the outfit. She was tall and sexy, like a model. All the guys probably liked her. Wait, why was I thinking about this now?
追われてたわね。
You were being chased, weren't you?
え
Yep.
うん
Yeah?
警察。
The police? I nodded. It wasn't just the police, but you too, but I was too tired to explain
私も
that.
同じ。
Me too. Huh? What did that mean?
私が書いた歌詞と
なんとかって呼ばれてる事件と
They
の
went
関
to
係について
talk about how the lyrics I wrote
だって
are like some murder case.
しつこく聞かれたわ。
They were really persistent. New Gen. Fez's lyrics matched every one of the cases. That's why her believers all said the same thing. That she was a prophet.
私
They
疑
suspect
われ
me,
てるみたい。
I guess. As the New Gen killer, huh? I had too, when I'd learned about her lyrics for the first time. I'd actually thought she might be Shogun. But since she saved me, that actually might not be true. What was Fez doing there, though? It was just blind luck that she had been there to save me, right? I mean, that's where her concert is. So, it's the place she's used to. It's right in front of the concert hall, so maybe she had a concert today?
君が追われてるのはなぜ？
Why were they after you?
何か悪いことでもしたの？
Did you do something wrong?
作られた
She told them.
あの女僕の
That
こと
woman.
作ったんだ
She told them about me.
ニュージェネ
She's telling them I'm the New Gen killer. Yua tried to get me arrested. Damn it, she and Shogun were on the verge of destroying my life.
そう、
I see.
容疑者候補ね。
We're both suspects then. Yeah, I know, it is actually kind of funny. How could she be laughing? I mean, I do the same thing. It's called dark humor to make light of other shit. It's a coping mechanism, okay? How could she be laughing?
僕は無実だ
I'm innocent. I got so excited I yelled, and the voice echoed loudly throughout the tunnel, but I couldn't control myself anymore.
事件を目撃した
I
だ
just
けだ
happened to see that murder,
証拠
that's
品を
all.
勝手に持ち
Okay?
持ち帰
Maybe
っ
I
ちゃ
took
った
some
けど
evidence home,
それだけ
but that's all. Well, the music definitely changed.
僕殺してない
I didn't kill anybody.
それなら
Then, Fez's voice regained its calmness.
きっとそれは導きなのよ。
You must have been guided there
大いなる存在による。
by a greater being. Yeah, that would make sense. What? Another crazy chick? Well, I mean, she's not outright saying like we're being like Avatar shit. Like she's just saying, you know, God works in mysterious ways. Another lunatic?
君の見たものが事実だったか幻だったかは些細なこと。
Whether what you saw was real or an illusion is a minor matter. That terrible, awful scene was an illusion? Was that possible? It was so real.
君が今抱いている
The suffering
苦
and
し
anger
み
you
や
feel
怒りが
now
必要なものだったということ
were
よ。
necessary for you to experience. My ear. But what was she talking about? I was disappointed. I'd kind of realized she was crazy when I'd seen her at the concert, but I hadn't realized it was this bad. They say there's a fine line between genius and crazy,
だ
but
から
find it quickly.
剣を
Find the sword. I guess that's what she'd said at school before. Find it and you'll be saved. That's what she said before. The police were scary, but Shogun and his servants were even scarier. I didn't know why, but they were clearly trying to trap me. If I was going to save myself from them, if I was going to protect myself, I needed a D sword.
そうよ。
That's right. Fez's lips curled into a smile. I don't know, I got a thing. I think it's a D sword. Do you want to come to my house and I can show it to you? Oh, you also get to see my place is trash and I haven't been there in days. I have hundreds of anime figurines.
勉強したみたいね。
You've done your homework, I see.
それなら手に入れた
I have one.
僕は理想度を持ってる
I have a D sword.
今家に
It's in my house.
知ってるわ。
I know. You know? How do you know?
見たから。
I saw it.
君が
You were walking across the center of Shibuya,
大きなおもちゃを
looking terribly embarrassed as you carried a big toy. She was talking about the day I bought the D sword. I can't believe she'd seen me. No, hang on. What had Fess just said?
おもちゃ
Toy? The smile was gone from her face. She glanced at me for a moment, then sighed. The air of annoy about her was so strong, I was starting to get nervous.
偽物。
It's a fake, I think.
あなたの買った
That sword you bought. I wasn't that surprised. It was exactly what I expected to hear, actually. Compared to the sword that Senna had, mine looked incredibly cheap, and it didn't glow either. And anyway, Fez had told me that this was this sword that was going to save my life. The idea that it was on sale for 10,000 yen next to a bunch of sex toys was just too lame to be real. So I wasn't that surprised. Instead, I felt violently angry. Angry at the gloomy-looking shop clerk who tricked me. Angry at myself for being stupid to fall for it. Angry at Fez for saying all these important-sounding things without actually telling me anything useful. Then I stood up and stormed over to Fez. Normally, I'd never be able to do something like that, but right now I was desperate. My encounters with you and the police had scared me to death. And not only that, I had been through absolute hell in the past month or so. I was sick of it. If I was going to go back to my normal life, I needed that sword. Tell me, how can I get a D sword? Why do you look pissed at me? The look on Fess's face became very serious as she turned toward me. Why do you look pissed off? Look. Look what? Oh, you're gonna materialize the sword. She held out her right palm for me to see. This looks really cool, though. Then she motioned for me to stop getting closer as she made a fist. Then she flung her arm back, and with a sound like breaking glass, the empty air cracked and shattered. My eyes went wide in shock. Fess stared at me, her expression unchanging. Beyond the cracks in space, I could see a deep darkness. Fess struck her hand in between the cracks and pulled hard. That looks cool. And not just the sword looks cool. I mean, the whole scene, her pose, and all that. A D sword. The crack in space was repaired almost instantly. It disappeared as if I had never been there. So I have to summon it from outer space. The whole thing took only a few seconds. Was that a magic trick or just a delusion I'd seen? I couldn't believe what had just happened in front of my very eyes. It didn't feel real. This is something out of a fantasy or an anime. This sword controls fate. The sword was the one Fess was waving around during the concert. One I thought was a mic stand. It was shaped like one of the battleships you see in a very sci-fi anime. Also, don't these swords cause mental issues too? This sword is a convergence of sorrow. There wasn't a single straight edge on the whole thing. Serrated. But it was sharp, beautiful, and terrible. This sword allows us to interact with a higher plane. It felt like touching it would cut your finger clean off. A higher plane? I couldn't look away. My eyes were locked onto Fess's D sword. I couldn't help but ask. Another space, you might say. Okay, I should end the video. It's been going for a while. Oh, nope. Okay, well, hope everyone out there had a wonderful day. I might grab a snack and take a shower. Bye.